Holy smokes, guys. They said it was impossible. But I wasn't able to log in. It was saying mic accessed by some other source. So I had this issue with this streaming through YouTube. So I don't know what the deal is. Seems like it's okay now. So hello. Let me try to bring up a monitor screen here. Dun, 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 dun. All right. It's Mike. Hey, Mike. So yeah, I was trying to log in, or not log in, but the sometimes when I try to stream directly in YouTube, it doesn't let me. It'll say camera is being used by another app or something, and then I go in and it looks like it's being used by the Chrome browser, which doesn't really make any sense. So I tried to knock that out, and it didn't work. And so I don't know. It's nothing to do with the camera. It's something to do with the settings. And I went in. So hey, New York Outcast, All Pro Lemon 10. Um, so yeah, it said video unavailable. So on my end, I couldn't even get it fired up. But I brought it up online. It's some software issue with Windows 10, and other people have had this, going on. So I'm doing this just straight through YouTube right now, not running it through StreamYard. I don't seem to have problems when I run through StreamYard, but um, if I just want to run through YouTube, right, I want to make sure that this works. So this kind of crazy stuff. Um, so a few things. So hey, it looks like Mike, good to see you. All Pro Lemon Time, New York Outcast. So good. I saw you can hear before, but then I'm guessing he got the spinning wheel, or it's not happening. So Misty, Mrs. Wayne, hey, howdy. Solitude, good. So I have going in the back. So let me change my. There's actually a way to split in my three monitors, to split them into multiple, like put four monitors onto one. I've got to put a little more time into that. No preview is available. The webcam is being used by other applications. See, that's the thing that I don't get. So that's something is messed up still, even though we can see it. I'm not going to mess around with it, but I can zoom in a little bit. So, all right, what it's what it's saying for the camera is no preview available. So I won't hang up on this too long. No preview. Whoa! Click here to start preview. Ah, nope. No preview available. Logitune. Is it Logitune? So click here to start. No preview available. Webcam is used by another application. Webcam is used by another application. What is going on? So I don't know if anybody knows what's going on. So I used to be able to see over here in my webcam app the it says no preview available. It's being used by another, which I don't. That shouldn't be the case. So calendar notification. I don't want that. What is going on? No video all day. I don't know what's going on. Notifications. Meeting, app update, firmware. Yeah, that all seems like that makes sense. But why can't I get an update? No preview available. This sucks. So, anybody have an idea? I don't want to go in and start doing like registry stuff. That would be bad. So I got to have some reputable source here. Um, go to device managers. Oh, that's too old. Windows 10. Your webcam is used by another application. Holy smokes. It looks. That's disappointing. Anyway, I guess we'll just leave it. So, um, so that's a little thing I've got to figure out here because the camera issue, camera technically works fine, but what's not happening is it's not bringing up the preview. Um, so I can't see it in the other side here. But anyway, here's the North Star recording studio, and as you can tell, the background is complete. So I have the over here. Those are my 3 diplomas, my bachelor's and 2 masters. Now, in 2022, the University of Wisconsin system went to an 8x10 diploma. Those are 6x8s. So all those were before 2002. And then the bigger PhD frame arrived today. And actually, there's a little flaw on that frame on the mat. So I called the company and I sent them a picture, and then they said, "We'll send you another mat." So where what you see there with the outline in outside of the diploma, there'll be that piece they're going to send to me. I'll flip it out. It's not that big of a deal, but I mean, because it's an expensive frame and it just arrived. It's like a little divot was kind of punched out of it. So box was fine, and it was behind the glass. So like it's just kind of a weird thing, but so I've got that, and then my Professor of the Year award underneath, and Coop signs. So the background is lit. Look at this here, the R for Ron Wayne. Look at that, Misty Mrs. Wayne. This is the R for Ron Wayne. So let me get back out of here. So I'm going to try to work on this camera here at some time this Brio to get it. Yeah, I was waiting to watch, and so Mile A. Ronin. So it absolutely sucks when you lose memory. So yeah, I miss actual photography. So yep. Yeah, and my backup hard drives that I ordered were supposed to arrive today, and about an hour ago, little message say, "Oh, they're delayed." So hopefully be there tomorrow. But because I had lost the first 181 episodes of the show, all the raw files, I can once I get the new drives, I'm going to download. So I will have a full video and a full audio, and there's still some hope that the tech guy might be able to find the motherboard and match it to the platter and figure that out. But so anyway, like this is kind of the wrap up of the big upgrades down here. So what do you think? How does it look in the back? So yeah. Um, and it snowed here today, so we had about 2 inches of snow. Yeah, it's now so the streets didn't it didn't stick because it's too warm, but it's going to be in the 20s the next few days. So anything on the lawn will stay out there. But yeah, so a couple inches of snow. And yeah, I was studying last night because I thought, oh, like the video seemed kind of laggy. And maybe that's too because when Lisa was involved in it, so I had to process both of those streams and then like send it back out. But I did a little bit of research, and I was finding that it is not unusual for the stream to be anywhere from 20 to 40 seconds delayed. So yeah, I think things are much better there. And when I played it back, like everything's was synced. I mean, there were a few like glitches and stuff, but I think some of that might have just been that the internet was kind of slow, and I did have that extra program running on that UCam 10, which runs it was trying to access the camera. So I think I got some of those bugs out. So what's next here for the studio? So I did the upgrades this summer to the to the camera, not to, well, the camera is part of it in this and the CPU. I think it's going to be um, probably a new processor. So this processor is original to 2017. It's an i7, but I think a new processor. I'm running 64 gig RAM, but and it could go with like a new video card. It's to the point where it's just kind of components for a while because it's a Windows 10 system. I just upgraded the RAM and some of the drives and stuff like that. So there's not. Oh, I think it's just kind of going component by component, but it might make sense. And I was talking to the tech guy to invest in the CPU. I don't know how much that would cost. So um, yeah, I think it would make everything. It would make everything faster. So yeah. Solitude is saying CPU is a good option. So yep. So I'm thinking about doing that. So thought this was live jazz. Look at Billy here. So there's Billy. Um, I I also received an email from YouTube, and they said your channel is now eligible for memberships. So I wanted to ask you, Misty and Solitude and Mike and New York Outcastle per Lemonton. So um, that wasn't something I was thinking about, but if I were to do, here we go. It's kind of there. Little tweaks. I do like that I'm able to do that. Just I don't know why I can't see the image. Webcam is used by another application. So dang it. Um, but what do you think? Do you think I get? Let me preface this. Everybody here, Misty, Molly, Ronan, Mike. I mean, Mike, you jumped in with the first, the first show I was able to do super chats. You were there, you and Bacon, and it was just cool, like right to have that. And when we had, I think we had a couple super chats when we had on the legal man. So like when a guest is on and there's a super chat question, I think it just kind of makes the guest feel important. So I appreciate that you guys do those things. um and at the same time, right, I'm not going to be like, hey, like, post a super chat and do a super chat and things like that. But I do, so that's been cool. But so now that I can go in and do like the membership, I guess, do you think I should do that? And then it also has the option. Now this is all new, like I've never seen this before, but it said like you can have a members only live chat, right? And I'm like, well, that would be kind of interesting, right? I don't know what I would theme it around, right? But it could almost be um, I think obviously there could be some things that we typically don't talk about on the show, or so do it, Doc. I'll jump in the car. You drive. Oh my goodness, no, you gotta, well, everyone, you gotta drive. So, um, y- yeah, it looks like some of you are taking care of the um. Jeez, we're really we're really getting hit up here with some kind of aggressive spam stuff. So, Doc, I am complete. Look at this. Whoa. So, um, so maybe if you have an idea, um, but I'm going to think about it, right? So, if I do a membership, right, I need to make where there's something of value to you, um, and that I would commit to that and that threshold. So, um, there's a couple really cool like sticker options, some, art that RJ Jones did that, could go into that. But I think what I want to do with that, right, is as I have more guests on, I had two guests in the last week, and then Monday, I'll have on Mike Dahl. Um, those shows, I think it really conveys kind of a depth and of the supporters of the audience of the show when that stuff is available. So if that makes if that makes any sense, I don't know, but I wasn't expecting that, and then today it's like, do you want to set up the stuff? And I said, I don't know, we'll see. So, um, but so I wanted, I think what might be going on here, the no preview available, is because it's being used by the um, I can see it right, now, right? Actually, the show, right? So, I think I think what it's doing is saying, well, if you were just firing up the camera on its own, um, then the preview would be over here. But because you're using it on other software, you can see it. I can maneuver it, but I can't have it over here. So maybe this setting is actually okay. So here's the 90 degrees, and let me move. This is really cool that this camera does this. So yeah, so that is what, maybe 10 or 12 feet in back of me. Um, but but that's it's pretty cool, isn't it? Like the the thing is, I'm not a big fan of having my dumbbells viewable in the back, but there isn't another place to put those down here. I'd have to like take them out of this room, and really, I want them to be in this room. I don't want to, because anything like if I'm kind of working out, right, I'd have something on the screen, a podcast or something like that. Um, so, do I use them every day, Andrew? To be honest, I don't. I did though, and I need to get back to that. I would use them several times a day. In summer, I tend to use them because I um, try to build up my biceps and triceps for biking. Um, but and actually it gets really cold down here, where it's just kind of a deterrent to not kind of want to do anything. It's okay now. Look, I got the R for Ron Wayne. So it's our good friend Yuke. I know you were in the last show. I saw that. So what happened, Yuke, is there was something going on. This is an issue I've had trying to do live streams. It'll say the camera is being occupied, or the camera is in use by another app. And it's actually the Chrome app. So Chrome is using it. Um, so, but I don't know. I was able to get in now, and it's kind of it's happened before. Your pictures are crooked. No, the pictures are level. I actually had my level and went and level. I mean, it's doing this fisheye, right? What you're seeing is through the Brio. I mean, it's like easily 12 feet in back, so it's moving. But um, I did level everything pretty meticulously back there. Um, so I played the fifth. So, oh, Armageddon. Okay, yeah. So no, I did have I had two levels that I used. One was just a tiny level that I had on, and then I just had a second. And actually, I mean, that stuff will move. The pictures in front of me moved a little bit, so which is just if there's vibration in the house. That wall is a little more solid than the one in front. Not a big thing, but it's pretty cool. Like, so that frame is 19 inches by 17, the big one, the UW Madison. Then the diploma is 8 by 10, but then all the other diplomas are smaller because before 2022 they did 8 by 6 diplomas. So those are from the bottom is my bachelor's, then my master's in speech language pathology, then my master's on the top of right there of education from Superior, then the PhD right there. So I never had the PhD displayed until now. It had always been in the mailer, the heavy cardboard mailer, because I didn't attend graduation. I'd been through graduation several times, and they were kind of surprised. I think they were kind of upset, like as a department, that I didn't attend graduation. And I was like, well, um, again, it's not my first rodeo. I don't want to sit in the Kohl Center or out at Camp Randall with 30,000 people at Camp Randall or 15,000 people at Kohl Center. Like, I'm good. Um, And then I never felt the need to display it. And then finally, right now, I was like, well, yeah, I when Coop's sign arrived, it was that day because Coop's sign is, yeah, just flat out awesome, right? It was that day that I made the decision, go on and order the frame. So I ordered the frame and it's really cool. So yeah, Doc and the guitar. So that guitar is from my godfather, who passed away from cancer in 2013. He's military was a military veteran. And yeah, so actually a lot of good memories of him and the guitar and coming up with these impromptu comedy type songs. The one person when you're young and you have a family gathering, right? You're in and you're just like, oh my goodness, will this person be there? Because they're just so much fun and just the energy and the vibe. And it's like, oh yeah, and then it's like everything kind of changes because their sense of humor and the goofy stuff and so that was he was a great guy. I really miss just hanging out with him. And so my godfather, Carlos, was from Mexico, then grew up in New Mexico, and then moved to Wisconsin. And he would so I'd go up and visit him, and this was in 2013. So he passed away in August of 2013. This was earlier. This was before my PBS presentation because I brought my laptop up and it was probably like April, so it was a month before I was going to give it. So I brought it up and like went through it with him. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to give this on TV. So he was really proud and like it's a cool thing. And he had this bowl and they were all these like hot peppers. So he would either get them at the store or like he was growing some of these things and he just loved super hot peppers, like just eating these jalapenos and these other like fire peppers. So he like brought out and he's like, here. And actually I like that stuff too. Um, so we were just downing these hot peppers and so that actually I kind of miss. Like I well, I mean, it's just a great guy. Absolutely great guy. So you could say, Doc, I read your most recent email. If you don't need them until June, then NCAPS will be yeah, I don't. Um, so okay, yeah, man. I am glad to more than glad to pay you what they're worth in shipping. So I've got you. And just get a hold of me and I can PayPal you or send you a check or whatever you wanna do. So let me um but yeah, I so so anyway, I don't want to talk about too much on the show, but yeah, Yuka's uh so helping me out with the summer trip project. So it's good. I appreciate it. Big time, Yuka. So yeah, studio looks good. Okay, we got it. Hot peppers are where it's at. Just picked. Oh, habaneros tonight. So where'd you get them, Yuke? Um, so that's what I have to do is I need to kind of look at my local stores and supplies, or, places and see who has these. And just I miss eating them raw. Um, and I did that mostly when I was up with visiting my godfather. Um, and now I'm like, I just haven't done them. So I'd love hot sauce. Oh, so get this. So today I went to the hot bar at the Festival Foods in our town, which I really like that grocery store. Just it's got a good vibe, and there's always a lot of people working. They're always like doing stuff like, cleaning things and um but but I go in and usually like twice a week I'll stop at the hot bar and I won't do breakfast, right? And I'll grab um chicken tenders, and if it's Friday, they have fish fillets, kind of like battered fish fillets, and potatoes and macaroni and cheese and potato wedges. I mean, it's kind of what it is. You can grab some soup and stuff like that. So, and it's by the pound. So, for like $12, it's a pretty good, it's a pretty filling meal, right? And that again, that's usually a morning I didn't have anything, and then that actually might fill me up for the day. But they had chili, like, that you put in a chili cheese hot dog. Like, they had a big thing of chili, and they had a big thing of, queso cheese, like a big, like, tub in their hot bar area, and then they had a sign up and it said, "Do you like spicy?" Or like, "Make a spicy, chicken tender dip," or something like that. It's really weird. Like, I'm like, "I've never seen this before," but so I filled the thing up with some of it, and actually it was pretty good. But I'm like, I don't know what they're if they just had to use it up. I'm thinking that had to be it, and they're like, "Well, what do we do here with this container of, queso? That's a gallon of it, right? That's gonna go bad. Well, let's put it in the hot bar, and kinda, like, see if people will dip a chicken tender in it." So, um, but yeah, that's really cool, but yeah, our hot peppers at our other markets like Wegmans. So, what should I be looking for? Habanero? Is that is that what do you think, you so as I go in and look for hot peppers, and actually we have a really now that I think about it, well, of course, it's done for the year, but, the farmer's market, there were a couple stands that had hot peppers. Um, so I think when the farmer's market starts, I can get back into that, um, too. But I'll tell you, hot peppers before biking, also just, like, seem to really, invigorate, bring up the senses, and, I used to bring along, smelling salts when I was biking, and I don't have them anymore, but it was something when I was kind of, like, learning to do distance biking, I was experimenting with, what are how much water do you bring, or, what do you eat before, what do you eat during, how long do you bike in minutes before you eat something, and whatever, and, um, and there was something I had read or saw somebody doing, like, smelling salts before they would go on a ride, and one of the things is obviously it's just kind of that wake up sensation, and, um, kind of getting your brain firing a little bit more, but I did it, like, a couple times, and I was like, "Yeah, it's not really my thing," and then I thought, "Well, do I keep them? Because what if I, like, wipe out on the bike and then, like, I need," but I'm like, those scenarios, right, are so unlikely, and I'm gonna pull out and try to, like, bike back on a half broken bike by putting a smelling salt in my nostril. I mean, so nope. Um, Yuka's saying jalapenos, habaneros, ghost peppers, Scotch bonnet, banana peppers. The list goes on and on. Ghost and Scotch are hot, by the way. So I'm guessing, where would okay, so I'm going to check. I don't know, like, at our Walmart, I mean, what they would have. My guess is for liability, right? You'd have to have all of that under plastic and probably a little bit higher, so a kid doesn't. Our daughter, when our oldest daughter, when she was maybe like 2 or something, like, we, had her in the car, we're going through, and at Walmart, and we are over in the produce section, and she grabbed a tomato, and she just took it and took a big bite out of it. And then we're like, "Oh my god." So, I think we just put it in a bag then and paid for it, but I was like, it was just this fast move of this, grabbing this potato or this, tomato, and taking this big bite out of this tomato. It's like, and then she thought it was, she didn't spit out. She's like, "Oh," it's like, "Holy smokes." She took a bite out of a tomato. So, yeah, peppers. We don't have, I shouldn't say that. We don't habanero peanuts or cashews. I'm getting preparedness. Now that is interesting. Um, yeah, I eat one jar, so, which is about the size of this Mountain Dew, which I don't drink a lot of soda, but I haven't had one in a few days. So, um, but I eat one jar of lightly salted, peanuts a week. So it's kind of my go-to snack, and I think that's also been a really good thing for biking. I mix up, I take a Ziploc bag and I pour in, peanuts, fish crackers, and what else do I do? Some dried, uh, cranberries, and oh, Swedish fish. So and there's like a reason to do that. So the Swedish fish are a slow burn sugar for your body. So as I ride, like I'm not going to be burning through that right away. And then the peanuts have protein, and then they also take a little longer to get in. The fish are carbohydrates. That's what they're, or the cracker fish, so they burn up pretty fast. And then the craisins kind of help with the electrolyte stuff. So like it works really well. Like I said, I it has been a long time since I've like had quad or hamstring cramping on a bike. And so that's just like good management of what you're taking in, and kind of preparing for rides. And that was a problem early on when I kind of got into biking, and then you have to learn it and study what you're eating and what you're bringing with you. I also have these like salt tablets. It depends because like it's a if it's a hot day, I love biking on hot days, but then you're sweating, and I look down and you can actually see the crystallized salt on your arms. I mean, it's just crazy. And so you're sweating out a lot. I actually feel like look at your arm, it just tastes like you're looking a block of salt. Um, so in those cases, I'm like, whoa, like my electrolyte balance is going to be off here. So what I need to do is I need to take in more salt. So in that case, there's just you can buy them right from like GNC and stuff like that. They're just made for like kind of like either during or after workouts. It's just salt tablets, basically what it is. But that can really help you out if for some reason your body is a little funky that day, right? Your electrolytes just aren't hitting. Bacon is saying, "Well, I've limped home on my bikes multiple times before, even when I was the field mechanic for the party rides." Yeah, that's as much as I love biking. That's always my fear, right? Is like something's going to go wrong, right? Like there's something that a rim is going to give out, or just something quirky, right? Something's going to get bent on a derailleur, or if you wipe out, and then what do you do? Like you're 40 miles away from home, and then I'm like, whoa, I don't really have a good plan for those scenarios, other than calling home and saying, "Come out here and pick me up." But if that's not an option, if no one is able to do that, like I'm not sure. I think what I would do is I would probably it depends on how far it was. I would probably put the bike in a safe place, like behind some trees or whatever, and then I would probably like run the rest of the way home, which isn't ideal because the biking shoes are flat. Um, but I think that's what I would if it was like 20 miles, I would probably do that. If it was more than that, I'd have to call and and say, "Come pick me up." I have to call Bacon, call Armageddon Preparedness. Here's where I'm at. Yeah, and that's not super precise either because of some of the ways that I go. And I've been thinking too, like I don't want to use my phone because then for taking bike rides, because then it's eating my battery life, and it's my phone's not going to last as long just in general. I'd rather like buy a dedicated device like a Garmin and take it out biking so I can log where I go and the distance, and then also have kind of the GPS coordinates. So I think I'm gonna go a little bit high tech because I mean I love biking, right? And why not? And then what am I gonna do next year too? Oh, I think I'm gonna do a GoPro for the bike. Um, and I don't know a lot about that, so if you have a recommendation, I mean, let me know. But I would like to do, yeah, a GoPro. And basically, I think what I would do is most of the bike ride, I would try to condense it down into like a 20-minute video. But there's some cool things that I go to, like these small dams from the 1930s that were put out along the Wisconsin River, the Civil Conservation Corps. They're not maintained anymore, but like you can go check them out. So the Indian effigy mounds from 1,000 years ago, bike right past them, right? So I'd like to include those in some of these trips and do like a 20-minute edited video, and I could speed up some of the stuff and then like narrate over it when I'm back home, saying, "Here, I'm approaching this," and do some of that so you could actually hear what was happening in real time. But I'm not going to be able to stream while I'm biking because I'm not going to have reliable internet. So these will have to be some shows. But so Twisted Art Lady, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, so the backdrop, and so this is, I have the camera set at 90 degrees, the Brio. So there's like 10, 12 feet in back of me. So there's a little bit of a fisheye effect. And normally I wouldn't show it kind of out to this level, but um, this is it. Like this is the background now. Um, so we have what I was trying to do here. So Twisted Art Lady, I appreciate your input here because you're right, absolutely amazing on your channel with what you do, and so I was kind of hoping you'd come in and give some thoughts. Here's what I was going for. So on my right here, my two books, right? So this is the academic side, and then those are my bachelor's and two masters, and then my PhD, which is also a larger degree. That frame arrived today, and then underneath is my Professor of the Year award, and I that's about the height. I couldn't go any lower with that because then it would get too then it just kind of looked odd. And there's still some room up above that, before you get to the ceiling. So um and then so that's my academic side. And I didn't display the PhD ever. So it was just in a mailer. So the heavy, like, cardboard mailer. And so that's the first time it's been displayed since I got it in 2016. So I thought, oh, I should display it. So that is a frame from the University of Wisconsin bookstore that I ordered. And so it's a really cool frame. Actually, there's a little flaw in it, though, kind of up by the W. There's a little like pivot or divot out of it on that line that goes through. And I took a picture of it, and it's weird because it's under glass. So it's nothing like I did. And then I called the company and then I said, "Hey, like, I just got this and I paid a lot for it. And there's this, so we'll either, what's the deal here?" So then they said, "Send us a picture." So I sent a picture of it and they're like, "Yeah, that's shouldn't happen. So we'll just send you like that part of it." So the part that has the W and the little line going across that fits in there, they're going to send me a new one of those. It's not a real big deal, but I mean, because I paid a lot for the frame and it's brand new. And I said, "You don't have to send me like a whole new frame, right? I only need like this piece." Um, but design too, awesome. So I mean, so your input really is valuable. Yeah. So of course, the two books, and then and that's my academic side, and then over here is a little bit more whimsical, right? The safety doc, which is professional, but also if I were to do consulting, like if right now I would just take that and put it on a stationary orange background. Um, and the guitar, and then the moon, my daughter made that on a record. That's a 33 record. And she made that years ago. And so I just think it's kind of neat to have up there. So there's nothing, so I think it balances out right. And it still is academic with some of the book titles, and especially toward the top, which sometimes are in it. And those are some different safety theme books. And the magnets, are a little whimsical, but nothing inappropriate, right? So everything you look at in the background, the printer is there, and two flags and Wisconsin flag. Um, so it has I think this feel of professionalism, but not being stuffy. I guess would be, if I'm correct. Twist Artley, you can help me out. But hey, it's Bolo. Um, so yeah, and normally again I would crop this in, but I'm going to kind of leave it this way for this show. Um, but so I like it. I think it's good. I thought about, well, what I'm kind of hoping is I'll make another run for Professor of the Year again in 2023, and then I would have another plaque, and then they would both be underneath the big one from UW there. But I was debating whether to center that or to move it over toward the 3, but I kept I kept it centered. Um, and of course, I would just move that down the road if I got another one. But um, so yeah, I think it conveys. And there's some times when I'm doing like a media event, and you jump in, and then somebody says, um, you're doing something with a TV show, right? Or that you think it looks great zoomed out. So yeah, actually, I'm kind of the thing. So the weightlifting stuff, I'm not thrilled that that's in the shot. But as I said, I don't really have a good other place to put that. And at the same time, you know, I do think it's not obtrusive, and I think it also conveys that a commitment to a subtle, like, to fitness and the whole thing of the wellness and with the safety. I don't think it's unappealing. I I don't really have another place for it. In most shots I do, it's not included, but so then someone's like, "Oh, but like I see a lot of people on well, good. I don't think the weightlifting stuff is bad there, yeah. So, I kind of studied the background and just made sure there wasn't anything that would be like, if I'm on CBS News or something like that, after, or for some school safety to opine on something, and they bring me on screen, like, I want the what's in back, and by the guitar, that's a piece of artwork my godfather had. It's uh, you put a plant in there, right? So because there's little holes in the bottom and stuff like that. It's a goat, I think, Billy Goat. Um, so that's from New Mexico. So yeah, I think everything themes out pretty well here. So, but I really like the way the diplomas came together, and getting that doctoral, and then of course what Coop did was just out of this world. So, and then I don't want to put anything else back there, because then I think it becomes too much. And I think this is like enough to have back there, but I don't want to put anything else back there. Um, I'm dazed and have a headache. Popped in to say hi. Oh, Zippy, take care, buddy. Zippy, I need a photo. So Zip's going to be a guest. He's going to talk about um, a concept he has for electronically tracking um, a vote. So, and that's Zippy's area. Um, so yeah, just sometime in the next week or two, buddy. I'm trying to work ahead a little bit um, on like I've got Monday night's show. I got the blog post out today for Lisa Lene being on the show, so that was great last night. It was actually like she was going to be on for about an hour. And as we were doing the show, so in the private chat, she said, let's just keep going. Like, I'm really, I want to keep talking about this. And that was the law of necessity of what if you have to trespass to save somebody from drowning? And we got into this area where, we don't have a national campaign. We don't have a state campaign of how do we how do we talk about this? Like, every state is different on its Good Samaritan laws. So, you know, and then Lisa was anchoring it to, it really needs to be part of CPR and first aid, but it should be like there should be campaigns, where something is sponsored by Nike or sponsored by Amazon or whatever, GoDaddy or um, but you would have some kind of it really is logical, right? Was logical as she's presenting this. And I was just like, God, this looks really cool. Um, so yeah. And then Monday night we've got Mike Dahl on the show, and then I'll keep working. I've got a couple shows I want to do on some really weird school legal cases. Just I got contacted today. So Bacon saying I think the weights are good where they are. Yeah, and actually, I mean, if I were to, it's amazing because that's got to be like 400 pounds over there. Because the biggest dumbbells I have are 60. So that pair alone is 120, and then I've got some 50s, a 220, and then all the way up. And the lightest ones I have are 20 pounds, and I do those typically for extension, and then like to go wrist up. Um, but yeah, so and like I said, it works there really well. And thankfully, like, it's the heavy duty laminate, luxury laminate flooring, I guess, on concrete. So yeah, and it's got a big footprint. So the weight is the per pound per square inch isn't a big, like, it hasn't damaged the floor. Um, but so I had a student email me today, and she said, "Hey, like, a student from this false class. I'm at a state conference, and they've just talked about something like you talked about in class, and I had a different opinion than what the state was saying." And she said, "I think this is pretty amazing, like what they're talking about, because like you were saying, like, and I had a published article in Phi Delta Kappa, and she's like, so what do you think about this? And of course, got to be measured with the response. I'm not there. I don't know what's going on." So I just said, I said, so interesting, right? Like that there's different positions on some things in education. And, I said, here's what to look for in the next, few months. Um, and then somebody else had a question. Oh, some really weird thing in their district of they had some mediated student agreement. And they're like, they said, what is this? And class, and I love when students feel they can contact me with questions after class, because they're only going to do that if they one enjoyed class and felt they're getting value out of it. Um, so I looked at that and said, oh, like, because they were new to the district, I said, it looks like the previous like plan, the student special education student, and this was an IEP, individualized education plan. It looks like they had the state bring a mediator in, and then one of the options is the mediator can kind of negotiate where some of this stuff goes. I said, and you know, but that's not perpetual. Like that doesn't mean the next meeting has a mediator, the next meeting and the next meeting. Um, so with that, I'm like, you got to figure this out, because if their expectation is you're going to just have a mediator there, the state mediation group, they're not going to do that. They're not going to be out there for every single meeting. And then, so we talked about it. And I said, I'm not sure. I've never seen that actually, but I said it could be something where, um, maybe they agree to um, some telemental health services as part of the student's um, individualized education plan, because the district is unable to hire a counselor. Like they post it and they can't get applicants, right? So for that IEP, as part of a service in that IEP, they're saying we're going to do this via telecounseling. And the parent maybe agreed. I don't even know. Like I don't have the IEP, and I'm not asking for that stuff. But I'm like, well, that's maybe something that would be a reason you have a statement like this saying, as soon as the district hired a counselor, the IEP would be amended, and the IEP, then the services would be provided in person. So you're not changing the service, you're changing just how the service is. But I'm like, I don't know. But I just said, this is really rare what you're talking about here. I said, I never have seen this. I understand what it is, but and I didn't want to say like, wow, that usually if you get to that point, there's both of the sides, there's some friction there. So um Andrew is saying, whenever I stop by my professor's office after hours, they all told me no one stops by. That's true. So my office hours are virtual. I actually have an office hours tomorrow in the afternoon. I have office hours, and this is even though the semester's done, because it's my classes are done, but the semester isn't done yet. So it's basically tomorrow I have a student in the afternoon, and it's more like a counseling for upcoming classes, like to look at the transcripts and stuff like that, versus like a question about class. So class is done. So tomorrow, yeah, this person had signed up. So it shows up, bing, you've got office hours from this time to this time. This person is like going to be there. So then I go into the university website and I go into their Zoom, the university Zoom, and then it's there. And then I click on the time and boom, we've got a Zoom office hours. So that's good. Actually, I had a note here of the things like this student had. So to kind of prep them for what classes are coming up and stuff like that. Um, so yeah. Oh, and some other kind of big news. Krabby Turtle saying, "What's up, Doc?" Look at that Krabby Turtle. Well, hey, we've been at 1,255 subscribers here for a month. So if you have 8 YouTube channels and you want to help me out, keep the channel growing, share it with people, say, "Hey, um, go over here and subscribe." I appreciate that. Of course, we don't have to worry about watch hours anymore. So, but we're just trying to grow the channel. And that really helps for the guest, right? Because if they come on, one of the things Lisa said to me last night is, yeah, she sent in the message afterwards. She said it was really cool, like that there were already people waiting in the chat, and that they were into the topic, right? They're asking, and you guys. So that was a big thing for her. And so again, like when I'm able to bring in guests and there's an active chat that understands the channel, and you guys do a great job of moderating and bringing questions up that are relevant. The guests love that. And like the legal man, he's just like, I want to come back on the show. And that dude is, I mean, he has like meetups in the Dallas Fort Worth area where like 100 people show up. He's kind of like a Lewis Rossman type figure. Um and so this big social media following. And the right show, the Quash. So he's like, I had a great time, and your chat and the topic and the all of that stuff is great. Did blog posts out the next day. And um so I'm just like, yeah, let's bring the legal man. And I think we had some topics here that let's get further into, like dash cams. Let's throw like two scenarios, but let's like make a show of saying like um something about like, should I get a dash cam and a ring cam? And that could be like the show title. And then like, attorney legal man, helps us consider these important, or, these decisions in I don't know, in a tech crazy world or something. Um, we'd have to, I don't know, help me out with the title, something like in a surveillance. That's not really it, because not really surveillance, um, but I think those questions, right? And because if you guys remember during that show with the legal man, like he got to a point because he goes, I don't drive like a lot, right? As a short distance, and I don't have a dash cam. But then like a little bit further, he starts to say, I should have a dash cam, or I should consider a dash cam, right? So it changes. And then I could kind of like sense, okay, like, so this really seems like an area we could go in. And then also, the whole kind of um ring cam thing. And I think maybe then also kind of like Bolo saying, wear a chest cam will make you famous. Yeah. What if you have, using your phone? I mean, you're not using your phone as you're driving, but when what is, I guess, what is the indicator? What's the vibe for, I should be recording this because something could go crazy here. Something doesn't seem right. So I want this forensic evidence. Whatever it is. And then like, how do you do that? Do you stream that? Um, so it's out there, like, or what are you doing with that? And so I think there's like three things we could have in there of saying like, when would something's going on, you've got a feel, and you want to start capturing some evidence, right? So I think there's things that you should do, right? You should say where you're at, what time it is, and try to give us as much metadata as you can of like, here, I'm watching this, or whatever's going on. And um and then you know that, I think that would be interesting. I think this whole thing with the Ring doorbells and I mean, just the connected mosaic of doorbells, like, you're asked to be a part of that. Do you what are considerations before you say yes or you say no? Um, and then, um, I I think the vehicle cam, right? The dash cam, um, which again, I I think it's just gonna be standard at some point. So, um, Joe Dolio Bolo wears or has a cam, like a in a pen, like a little that he wears. He talks about that in his show, and I think he links it out to, like, um, where to get it on Amazon. It's not that much, yeah, $100 or something, but, um, so but yeah, I mean, so much is video forensics today, and that's where schools are just going crazy on school safety is, like, covering every inch of campus with video, and people it's not preventive, that's the thing, like, video I shouldn't say that, if I guess if you're recording someone and they're contemplating doing something, like an argument at a store or something, that person might back down, if they know they're being recorded, right? Now, if someone is intent on doing something, they don't they probably want the video on, right? So, um, but yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting. So before like um our neighbor had a we had a storm and then there was like a tree that was branch was it was cracked and it was like leaning toward our house. And and so I talked to the insurance company. This is a couple of years ago, and I said, "I'm nervous, like, that this is going to fall." So they looked at it and they said, "Yeah, this is a concern, but it's also, like, you can't force them to remove this tree. Like, you could cut it on your property, but, like, a lot of it was on their property, but leaning toward ours." Um, so I took a so I said, what should I do?" And they said, take photos of it, take video and say, like, "I'm out here on this day and I am taking this video." And then also like talk to your neighbor and that you can say I talked to them on this day, or hopefully like you can have a note or something that you can give to them. Hopefully you could talk to them. And I did talk to my neighbor and at first, I mean, they were just kind of thinking it wasn't that big of a deal, but then I was like, dude, like seriously, obviously if it falls and it's not healthy, it's going to damage our house. And then our insurance agent said, because they would have known about it, right, that this thing was at risk, and you'd have this video and stuff like that. If you went to small claims court, or we took it like as an insurance claim, they would likely lose on that, because again, they would know that this tree had been damaged, and if there was another storm that came through, even moderately, it was kind of so that was some good stuff, and that I could bring up to like the legal man, but yeah, I think this whole thing of dash cam, personal cam, and then do you tell people I'm recording you? Because like, remember, you call somebody, and if you record them, you have to say like, "This call's being recorded." So, do you say that, and then what do you say for metadata? Um, because I think that's really important. Um, so yeah, I'll start thinking about those things, and I'll get them out to the legal man, and he seems to work really well. Like his mode, like he's high energy, right? If you give him like three topics, and then he like spins into one, spins into the other, spins the third, then he's off the show. So that's where you kind of go with the legal man. Like I've watched enough of his stuff, and I've listened to him on the Quash, but I've listened to him on other shows to kind of know like his style. So um, Yuka's the Huckleberry. So man, um, so what is next here? Oh, so yeah, it's Bingus. Bingus, you can sub here. Bacon, tell Bingus this is an awesome place to sub. So hey, Bingus, I like that name, Bingus. So um I had debated whether I was going to fire up the consulting business again. So because right, it's a commitment. I mean, flat up, it's a commitment to do that. Solitude saying I love Doritos, so I also love Doritos, but I try not to eat Doritos very often, maybe like twice a month. Um, so I was debating, should I do this? Should I not do this? And of course, part of it was just the economy, right? Because uh, all these layoffs happening, and freight carriers are laying off. Maersk, the big shipping company, and FedEx, and UPS, and some of these other Amazon, not doing their big hiring for the holiday season in the warehouse and stuff. So I'm like, that's a bad sign, right? Like that's not good. Um, so what I was thinking was, you know, if there's a chance to ramp up and to fortify, and it's the same. I have the same sense of the feeling kind of as when the pandemic started. So Andrew's saying, take the money while it's there, Doc. Um, so Bingus, please sub to the channel. I will sub back. Um, so I was like, yeah, I was starting to put the feelers out, like with some of my previous clients. They're all school districts, yeah, across. They're either here or in California. Um, and and then they were like, yeah, if you're up for it, we'd like to work with you again, and because those all ended very positively. They were all because I was after I spend more time on my book and get it ready for the publisher, and the economy was really soaring, and so I was just like, yeah, to take a year to out of that, and I picked up an extra class at university, and so all that stuff, is good and was good. But then looking at things, and I'm like, I don't know, man, like just inflation and where are things going to go, and you know, I think as Andrew said, just you if you have an opportunity to hedge yourself, do it. Um, and yeah, so what I did today is basically, we had a call, conference call, I guess, and I said, I'm back. They were happy about it. So, and I just said, I'm back. And part of it is like, I know these people, and so I said, what's changed, in a year and a half? So they went over some things, and I'm like, okay, so we're going to next week. Is next week Thanksgiving? Yeah. So I don't, maybe it's the week after next week. We're going to kind of lay out the plan of like, so what I'll be helping them. So I help districts with special education programming. I know the legal and systems aspects of that really well, being a school administrator for years and special education director. Um, so yeah, I'm getting back into that, and what that'll functionally mean is I will probably be consulting from and working on projects from 8 in the morning till maybe like 1 in the afternoon, probably Monday through Thursday. So I never commit to Fridays. I never did that before because I figure, well, that's a day because the spring comes around, right? And if it's either Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like if there's good weather in there, I want to be out biking. And sometimes like I'll just cancel consulting stuff. But really, so the next until middle of April, it's not biking weather here anyway. But yeah, it's so we negotiate the money side of it. Got all taken care of. So now it's just kind of getting the band back together. Um, it's a little weird, um, just to start bringing stuff together that I thought I had kind of permanently shut down. Um, but at the same time, I guess I'm glad I have these opportunities to kind of toggle some of that stuff on and off, because you know, as Andrew said, I mean, which is a good point, and like Aaron Clary would say, right? Um, the 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 side hustle. And when I say hustle, I say that with respect. I mean, as a, yeah, as a professional, right? But it's you know, it's just a hedge. It's a necessary hedge, especially when things are really crazy. The way inflation across the board. I mean, I'd have to look, but I mean, I don't know with all of our insurances, house insurance, car insurance, all of that stuff, what the difference is year over year. Um, I know our property taxes went up 16% and, those types of things. So, um, and also like I'm, the studio is significantly better than it was, not just what you see in back of you, which is, certainly better, but, um, the, now I'm running Windows 10. I've got more RAM. Um, the studio has the hardwood floor, which it didn't have before. So like when you'd be down here working, for 4 or 5 hours a day. Plus, I have like the better headset. So I had that Logitech headset. Your ears would be sore because the smaller headset just pressing on the ears, um, and then this old sticky carpet down here. So and now it's just much wider because I took some stuff out of here too. So it's much more conducive to being a professional office. And that wasn't the case so much for the last time. So yeah, I'm getting the band back together. Um, so I keep looking at the guitar. So Bingus, the guitar, that was my godfather's guitar, and he passed away in 2013. And the guy he could come up with any song, he played on the guitar, but he was great of just like coming up with these funny in the moment songs. And it was just a blast. So the dude knew magic. And I so like he taught me some physical magic tricks of like getting the ring out of the two horseshoes and stuff like that. And he actually gave that to me. Like I've got that, I think, in a drawer. Um, and some of that, I wish I would have, like, learned much more on that from him, but so the guitar is a significance, right? Because, yeah, that was his for, many years. Um, so, yeah, just it's kind of this homage to him, and it kinda goes with the Southwestern theme there, like the big blue moon, and then that little goat planter, thing, which is from New Mexico. So it kind of goes over it. And actually, the wall over here are some of his paintings that he had from New Mexico. So that's when we painted. You can kind of see that wall is tan. So my wife had painted that. It's like a tannish orange. Looks really nice. And I had shelving over there, and I had like a lot of just knickknack stuff from when we moved in, so it wasn't very professional. It always took a long time to try to dust and clean. So now it's just a much more streamlined. So this room is like over here are like the big covers of my book, like the big wall art of the book covers. And then in back is what you see. And then over here is kind of the Southwest theme. And in front of me, um, there's a canoe campfire picture my dad got me. And then there's a couple firefighter pictures, one of me and my daughter. And then there's a older 1940s fire truck, and so just that's a little bit of a variety. But I took down all the sports stuff. I took I in back, when we first moved here, I put up like all my pictures, the Green Bay Packers stuff and all that stuff. I don't have any sports stuff down here anymore. I donated the trophies that I won playing basketball or when I was coaching. um I kept one. No, I kept 2. So, I donated all the rest. One of them was, like, 4 foot tall. It's a big trophy, so I took those to Goodwill over the summer as I was just, like, making this a more just a mature office, right? And I didn't want it to be all the sports ball stuff, as Aaron Clary would say. And it really that wasn't me anymore. And you know so I was able to kind of rid the office of rid this environment of those types of things. And so I mean it is what it is. It's a basement office that doesn't have heat. in Wisconsin, so it gets really cold down here. The rest of the year, like in summer, it's nice because it doesn't get really hot down here. Um, but in winter, it does get really cold. Like now, it's not too bad, but like it it will get like I'll be looking at the thermostat or the thermometer will be like 58. So I do have a little, not little, but I have an electric fireplace in the corner, and so that does okay. But I don't have any. This house was originally built with electric heat in '75, and then they converted it after that to gas. So this half of the house actually doesn't heat up very well, and the other half I heat with wood. So it's kind of in winter, like where the bedrooms are, that only gets so warm, which I don't mind. My daughters could they would prefer that be a little warmer, but then the other side of the house is always very warm, and then there's a stone wall that radiates the heat. So it's just kind of a nuance of the house. Not a bad thing, just the way it is. But I don't want to do anything down here, to try to retrofit some heat coming into this area. It's not worth it. And if I'm doing, yeah, I said consulting, I'll just put the electric fireplace on for a little bit. So clearly you're not punk rock. Nope. I'd never been punk rock. Pet peeve, guitar out of tune. Yeah. And I'm guessing that guitar is out of tune. Um, it could right now for sure. Oh, Bingus. Yeah, it's always fun. Um, Bingus, well, it did let him know I sent you here. So yeah, Bacon. Thank you, Bacon. So Bingus, it's always fun no matter how many string are on at a time. I learned from a broken guitar. Yeah, yeah. Cool. You know what? He also had a um, harmonica from the military when he was, and then I inherited that when he passed. So, and it has the case and everything. So, I've been, I've been thinking, if there was one thing I was going to learn, I think I would try to learn harmonica. Um, right. So, and why not? Because otherwise nothing's happening to it. It hasn't been used. Um, but I think that would be kind of a neat thing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about it. So, yeah. So clearly you're not punk rock. So yeah, this is R for Ron Wayne, right, Becca? Ron Wayne. So dun, dun, dun. This is one of those thermal shirts. This is Rutgers University that I have a collection of these things. These are the ones that the football players wear, right? The authentic ones. I get them from this place in Minneapolis, where the teams donate the stuff and then they resell it. So over the years, you got to kind of watch for what they get in the sizes, and there's because these things can vary a lot. So you can get it can be way too big and it doesn't make any sense, or it can be like skin tight, and even though it's like a 2XL because they're just made to be like super tight, that's not a good thing. So I have like 5, 6 of these of different. Here's Rutgers. I have like a Seattle Seahawks, Packers, Baltimore Ravens, and when like now I'll wear those pretty much every day between now and when it finally gets back to like 40 degrees, because they're really warm, they're super durable, easy to go through the wash because they're made for like professional or college football. They're not getting all ripped up or snagged or um, so yeah. One time I was at Lambeau Field in the gift shop, the pro shop in summer. We were there. It was a day after they opened after being closed for the COVID. So you went in and they give you a mask. Like we were on TV because we were like the first people back, and it wasn't planned. We just happened to be stopping there on our way through Green Bay to go up to Door County. So anyway, like the TV folks thought we made this pilgrimage to Lambeau Field to the pro shop, and it's like no. But so anyway, like I just glad to be back and whatever. And um, but they put out these jerseys, these player jerseys, so they don't have anybody's name on them or anything, but these insulated, right, thermal tops, and they pull out this big rack of these things. They were like $8 a piece. So I bought like 3 of them. I should have bought more, but yeah, I wear those like all summer long. The other part is these are really long, so they're not like wide and baggy, but they're very long because like football players, they want them to stay tucked in. So I love that, right? So, especially like if you're doing anything outside or snow blowing or whatever, and it's windy, like you've got something thermal that you can tuck in. So anyway, it's just been kind of a good thing. So, even in a punk band, a guitar can be out of tune. So, Bacon is saying, gave away almost all of my martial arts tournament trophies too when I cleared out storage in California, moved to Washington State. Only ones I kept were the ones instructor commissioned for us in 2008. Yeah. So it's weird because I looked at a lot of these trophies and I was like, I actually wondered why I kept them. So, but yeah, so I took them to Goodwill because I I had read Goodwill repurposes these, or I don't know, maybe just put them on someone bought them. Um, but I did keep two. I kept the 1992 basketball championship when I was coaching sixth grade. That one, we're 18-5 that year, and that was really, I mean, that was like my fifth year coaching, and we won league in the last game over the second place team, and then like the kid on the second place team went on to play like I think he almost made it to like the NBA. It was just incredible. And then I have the tournament trophy, and we played in a 32 team tournament at the end of the season. So it was a big thing back then, and 1,000 people in a gym, and we won like 58-56 in double overtime. Um, so like that kind of one season. It's interesting because like some of the former players, like were Instagram friends, right? Yeah, they're like, hey, like went down to like s- you know, s- uh, Mexico City here on my 45th birthday or something. I'm like, holy, well, yeah, that'd probably be about right because I was maybe 20. They were 20, no, so maybe like their 40th birthday. I'll be like, holy smokes, man, you're old. So what does it make me? It makes me older. So I still refer to you as coach. Like, hey, coach, like, how's it going? So, um, but I coached when I was really young. So I started to coach basketball when I was 15 because my parents or like another family would have to drive me to the games until I got my license. And then I coached 5 years at the middle school level. And then I coached 1 year of high school when I was in college. And then I didn't coach after that. But I'm glad I did it when I did because there weren't kids didn't have cell phones and there wasn't social media. So when you were there for practice, you focused on practice and you weren't rushing over to your phone to get something in. When you're before a game and after a game, too, you're able to focus and think about things. So and it was when they get done with practice, the kids would go out sometimes and there would be a payphone in the lobby of the school and they'd call their parents, hey, like practice is done, come pick me up. Um, so I'm glad I did. I'm glad I coached at that time. Because I don't know. I I don't think I would enjoy it as much right now. Um, I don't know. I have no intention to go back and coach. It was a good time to do it then. So, yeah, let's see here. Was there anything? Oh, so channel memberships. Yes, that's a question I had. Was I'm eligible for channel memberships. So I don't know if there's anything you think. I don't plan on doing anything right now with it, um, but um, I almost think I don't know. It's like it just was kind of an out of the blue thing, like an email from YouTube saying you're now eligible. You are now eligible to do channel memberships. So, do you want to start that process? So I went in there and I'm like, whoa, like I don't. You could do stickers and all this other stuff, but I get what are you trying to accomplish? You can do like members only chats. I'm like, well, what would that be? So, um, I don't know. I was only hoping Doc would tune that guitar. I don't Yeah, wouldn't you I wouldn't have the ability to tune it. Um, yeah, that would be something. Um, so, yeah. So, "You can do it," says Bolo. Maybe. So, Solitude Surfer is saying, harmonica is a understated instrument. Yeah, yeah, you don't kinda see the harmonica get featured in much, you know, stuff, right? But because it's really portable and it seems like something you could just, practice on your own anytime, and, um, if you were watching some tutorials on it, you could, probably scale it up and get pretty good. You could get really creative with it, right? But yeah, super super portable. Um, those things back I remember my godfather saying, in the military, like, a good harmonica was really valuable. Um, and the entertainment that it could provide and the fact that it was portable, it could go with you, pretty much anywhere. So, yeah, it's kind of a cool thing. So, um, anyway, any questions here? So I've got the big view going on for the studio. Um, so Bingus, I hope you've subscribed. Um, but yeah, actually, this is kind of growing on me a little bit. This view. See, the camera allows this now. This Brio was such a good decision. I was running my other camera was static. You couldn't change because it didn't have like the multiple lens stuff, and um, so I never realized like how much technology had evolved. So, and those of you out there, right? I do have that. I have my Yeti and my C920 webcam. So those need to go to a good home um, for someone who might be kind of starting out in podcasting. The only thing you'd need is to just get yourself a set of earbuds to take a drag off of the Yeti. Um, but yeah, is the cam 1080? Yeah, the cam is actually 4K. It's running probably though at 1080 because that's what YouTube will stream at. And then it runs actually lower at 720 on StreamYard because I pay for StreamYard, but I don't pay for the super expensive StreamYard. So yeah, so the camera right now is doing 1080, but it could do 4K if I had the right setup going here. So, like, if I'm just recording right to video and not streaming it, and then I'm going to edit and cut it out, it would do all of that. Um, so that you know that's cool. It's amazing. Like if you look in the back, like you can read the titles of the books, right? So I didn't realize with the C910. I mean, you could see you could see the books, right? But you couldn't read the titles. I mean, this one is just so much more crisp and responsive, and how it zooms in and um, but yeah. So Andrew is the Cam 1080p. If you're asking about the 920, so you'd have to look up Logitech C920. I think the 920 is 1080p. So my C920 was always my backup to my C910. The 920 has a default of a wider, it's got like this, has a wider angle. And I don't think you could change that. I think that's just the way that camera was. So I tended to prefer my 910 because my 910 was a closer framing. But for anybody, I mean, you could maneuver where you're going to be at or ruin where the camera's going to be. But that C920, I mean, that was probably $100 camera at least when I bought that, maybe 8 years ago, and it's been in its case. I mean, it probably has 3 4 hours. I brought it to the university once because we had a student that wasn't able to be in class, and anyway, it worked. I hooked it up and was able to record, and then I used what I don't know how I had my JBL speaker, and when student was able to interact, and but like I'm not going to keep it for that purpose. I just don't think I would. Um, and again, that's but so what I do have is I've got my Yeti. It's in a box. Yeti came with a stand, so the whole Yeti setup, and then the C920. So if someone is starting out in podcasting, let me know. I can help you out. So wish I could help with membership ideas, but I don't have any of my own either. Maybe a free consultation with you. Yeah. So Bacon, one of so something I've been thinking about is like, if I don't want to do really like safety stuff. Yeah, as Lisa said yesterday at the start of the show, like this is only for discussion, and so that stuff has big legal implications to it. So when I do my consulting, like my consulting is not safety consulting, is special education consulting. So it's all program stuff. Um, and I do have like a safety consultation. I've got a proposal I've been working on of a district that's not far from me, that wants to bring me in for a couple days. And it's a great district, great superintendent, and I want to do it. It's just I've got to sit down and really figure out what that proposal will look like, because there's some subcontracting in that for like transcriptions and of things, and I've got that like kind of priced out. So but once I do that and then the consulting, like it just feels like things are getting a little tight around my schedule. And I don't, as I said, I don't like that feeling. At the same time, it's also when some of my most creative work has happened. Um, so what I was thinking is like something in special education, right? IEPs and advocacy, but then that starts to change the channel quite a bit, of parents who are, you know, um, at their wits end with a school district for something. So we talk about, how to have your voice heard at a meeting, or they're not allowing the school's not going to administer CBD oil to your kid, or um, without having that get into confidential stuff. But I don't know. I don't. Um, you know, I don't know. I'd have to, and I'm not like, I'm not a life coach, right? So that's not my thing, and I'm not. I don't have a following of Aaron Clary, and to come in and to do, you know, something like that. So I don't know um, what it would be. So I'll think about it a little bit. So um, I get a lot of inquiries from people in the safety community. Like my LinkedIn stuff gets a lot of views, and I get messages from people who are like, "Hey, I'm the safety." Um, Holy smoke! So Mike Dahl just posted that he did the ribbon cutting ceremony at Reagan High School tonight for their new esports lab. So that's Michael will be our guest on Monday. So yeah, so let's see here. But so I get contacted by people from like, hey, I'm the school safety coordinator in Little Rock, Arkansas, or something like that. Saw your stuff, and you know, or the and be like, yeah. So, um, what do you want to do? What do you want to collaborate and stuff like that? And I don't want to get into again. I don't want to get into a situation where I'm doing a lot of traveling. I'm not going to turn in. I'm not turning into the safety guy that's going to be traveling the country. That's just not what I want to do. So that's like when I could open the door back up and do consulting, where I'm doing it in my office, right? So I'm done at 1 o'clock, and you know, take the headphones off. I walk upstairs. I'm good. Um, so yeah, I'm not pounding miles on a car and doing all of that stuff. So it was really the smart decision. I knew all along. Well, I knew for the last month it was going to go this way. Um, but I kind of like wanted to delay it a little bit. Especially when the weather was good. I didn't want to commit early and have, we had 70-degree days the first 10 days of November. But now that it's getting cold and to go back and to do that. So Bacon saying true was thinking more like the way Cappy, even Chad Elkins do, but I get it. Yeah. Yeah. So Chad has the CPA area and accounting, which is great. And I mean, there's a lot. I think I think there's a huge area in like special education, parents with students with disabilities. I think that is absolutely huge. Like if they knew I was out here, right? And and some of the I but then that changes the channel. Um and and I'm not sure with that because, because these are people who are like fighting for, services for their kids, or the um, wheelchair bus won't come up to the house. It stays at the end of the driveway. And like, what are things that be like, well, so let's talk about and what you as a parent, like how do you make sure your kids are getting the service that they're supposed to get and or obviously it's like if you're going into teaching your school administration, right? What do you want to look at? And I think that could be an interesting thread. Um, but because right there, what questions do you want to ask? How would you negotiate your salary? What's the best area to try to pick up a license in, right? um so we could go through those things, like um where Chad kind of talks about what the people coming in. And I think there's this whole thing of, if you want to be in teaching, if that's your thing right now, you know it's probably the easiest time to do that from a licensing standpoint, because there's these accelerated programs and you don't necessarily have to have a degree. And um but then what do you look at? Like what level would you want to go at? Maybe that's something, right? And I could say like, here's what here's the level I would go at, here's the kind of license I would aim for, here's what I would try to negotiate in your salary and benefits, here's some stuff you could do on the side. I mean, that's one thing. Once if you get into teaching and you kind of work usually a district will pay for your administrative stuff. So, um, to a certain level, like 2, 3 classes a year. But if you stick with it, right, you'll have your stuff on the district's dime. And then, what I think is it's smart is to pick up like additional certifications kind of outside of your area. So like, the district might pick up some law classes for you, or they might pick up some business classes or things. Um, but you can work as a part-time professor like I do. I did that when I had a master's degree, but you can go in and teach at colleges, at tech colleges and things like this, if you get some of these, there's some basic skills classes you can come in and teach, so students with some basic writing and things. But like, if you can branch yourself into those usually pay pretty well, and you're in charge of it. There's a high level of respect, when you're teaching those type of classes, and you can have fun with it. And um, so I think there is something there of like, how do you become more marketable, and how do you kind of spin that to like side gigs. Um, so I think there's a lot to that. So yeah. Um, I'd the other thing I've been thinking about, so maybe here, guys, here's the thing. I think maybe of like a financial type show. Um, because so like Eric Tang, I follow his channel. I think he's got like 2,000 subscribers now. Puts out absolutely great content. So he talks about like T notes and bank CDs and what's happening with the economy, and what you can do. And so, it's not like you're giving investment advice, you're explaining different investment things. So, and there's Diamond Nest Egg. I mean, she's phenomenal, the stuff that she puts together. But I think there's some stuff out there, because I didn't know, as much about treasury bills and some of this stuff to watch about bank CDs and certificates and just checking accounts and just these, I think there's some things out there that are, I guess I watched Dan. I allegedly I could see kind of coming in on that kind of approach to a show because that would fit really well with the velocity of information, which by the way needs its 26th review. It's got 25 right now. So um so I think there's a lot that could happen in there. So yeah, I don't know. Um that's I think we're I love Chad's stuff and it's obviously terrific he started his channel and I think he's going to develop this class because like he's the guy. Um I kind of wish I would have been in I would have I would have gone that route like in something in accounting. Um in retrospect you know I was pretty good at that. I had accounting classes in high school and I think it would have been a good path for me. But so, um, Andrew's saying the thing I've noticed on YouTube is guys that are boring and make the most stable returns don't get high views. People go to channels with huge bubble returns. Yeah, um, probably true, right? So, like Eric Tang has, I mean, quite a few views and stuff, but that's a very conservative channel, and so is well, Diamond Nestic. That she has a big following, but I mean that she's extremely that's a conservative. She calls it like the super savers type channel. So um yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, the channels that are going to talk about crypto and um try to do some stock market analysis and stuff like that are going to get the most views. So I don't know. We did the Faithfully Fridays, which are all lost to the ages. I have to download those, but that was an interesting thing to kind of go and to analyze. I again, like if you follow the show Dan I allegedly, um, I could see doing something kind of like that. But then it becomes, then I'm in with a whole bunch of other people who have been doing it longer and have a big audience and Neil McCoy Ward and right. Um, Southern Prepper One. Um, that's an interesting channel where people are like emailing him what's going on, and then he talks about kind of big member check network. But then, um, that type of like boots on the ground, like he already does that, and like I'm not going to vet all these people. I'm not going to spend all that time like saying, oh, like Andrew emailed me and Bacon emailed me and Spolo emailed me and said, here's the price of eggs at their store and the yeah, you know, their was the pharmacy was closed with a sign saying, no pharmacist today and whatever. So, um, yeah, it could be comedy. So I don't know. There's something. I've got to think on it a little bit. I've got to hit on what the show would be. Also, I think this would be a good show with like a co-host. Um, for some episodes. I think like Graham Wilson, for example, our pilot friend, super pilotish. Now you'd have to have a show, right, that wouldn't go real long, maybe like 90 minutes. Um, but I think something like that would be kind of interesting. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. But um so it was funny though today with Best Buy. So I ordered these hard drives yesterday, these external hard drives, and they're like overnight shipping free, and they'll be there tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. And then of course, as day goes on, they're like arriving today, arriving today. I'm like, pretty sure they're not arriving today, dude. Like I'm looking at the last updated thing here, like they're nowhere near where I live. Like you have to put these things in a cannon and fire them here to, you know, and then finally, like 8:15. They're like, nope, they're not showing up today. Probably be there tomorrow. So I'm like, you could have said that right from the start. But so yeah, that is then I need to go in and make the backups of my backups. So, but yeah, so I'm also excited to fire up the consulting again. Um, I I mean, it would have been easier if I would have never shut it down, to be honest. But it was good, when I wasn't doing it. I was able to get the book done because I don't think those two things were compatible. And then I biked like crazy, in the last year too. But it is this sixth sense, right? And I think we all have it where when the pandemic was, things were shutting down at the pandemic. I'm like, well, got to fortify things around here, and that's when I really took on and there was a lot of consulting work to be done because these districts were just scrambling and they didn't know how they would, do compensatory education for students who'd been out of school. And so it's all stuff I'm really good at. Like, I'm a real good systems guy. I understand all that. I understand the law. And so I'm like, I'll help you out. Don't worry about it. So, and when you do a good job, like, you got that. And because I left on good terms, um, which was another good thing, right? Always leave on good terms if there's any chance you might be coming back. Um, so because it was very amicable, right, and professional, the parting of the ways. Um, it's good. It's going to be a pretty smooth, um, restart to things. So, but yeah, I've got to again. It's just how you can't anticipate these costs. Not that we're okay, right? But you know, I didn't look at all the insurances and property taxes, and we don't have we're not driving, so we're not putting miles on a car and paying for gas, but just the cost of everything, right, is just going up. So um, simply to just do a hedge off of that makes a lot of sense right now. And also, if there is any money to pull over into T bills are paying about 5%. You're not paying then any state tax on that. So, there's some things to do, but um, so I just, yeah. And it's that gut feeling, as Andrew, you kind of said, like, take it and run. And, and that, right. It's not that type of thing, but it is that opportunity is there. And um, who knows, if there's cutbacks, then it wouldn't be there. Um, and it just seems right. It just seems things are so off. Maersk, the shipping company, has cut back, saying they just don't need as many containers. People aren't shipping stuff. So there was a big um, over the road hauling company in Minnesota that is cutting back like 1,600 workers, warehouse lumpers and drivers. And FedEx said they're slow, and UPS is slow, Amazon is slow. And this is the time of year, especially by me, you would see ads like crazy on TV for, come down and work at American Girl outside of Madison, for seasonal stuff and the doll company, right? Um, Andrew's like, what? So, but I mean, there would be, these companies. And then also in summer where I live close to Wisconsin, Dells, which is the water park capital of the world. And so like, they would bring in people from other countries and college and high school students to like work in the summers. They had so much work. In this past, couple of years, it's been pretty slow. And like so our community would just be saturated, ads in the paper and, flyers up and, hey, like, you'll get free passes to all the stuff. And plus, you make a really good, hourly rate for some summer stuff. So like, come and drive like a ski boat if you're a adult, right? And you want to make some extra money, or one of these amphibious ducks, like, and make 10 grand a summer. doing, being out in the sun and having a fun time with people and doing something like that. And that stuff has kind of gone away. Like they actually shut down the Tommy Bartlett show, which had been there for years. It's this water ski and kind of comedy and act, and it was really good, but couldn't get the people. Cost is too much. So I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm like, man, I just like it's got to hit home sometime, right? I mean, the holiday shopping, we've look at the stores and people, and I'm just like, and so I think it's going to be after Christmas is when things will really slow down. Um, would be my prediction is when the economy is really going to hit a low gear. And then I don't know where things go from there. So, but I'm like, I, I would, I just don't know. Um, so people have the most credit card debt on record, and it continues to go up. Um, so kind of these indicators, right? And also the I don't know if it's AAA or there were a few groups that said car maintenance they're seeing as the most delayed per like mechanics and like the places that just specialize in replacing tires and stuff like that. They're saying like people are coming in now down to the threads, right? And they weren't doing that before. Um, so with this delayed maintenance, we're also having more dangerous vehicles, on the roads. Um, oh God, I was reading about homes built in the last like 5 years, especially like the last 2 years. Um, if it's part of like a track housing thing, like the quality is just horrible in a lot of these places, right? Because you weren't able to get the part from the um, so one is the labor, right, isn't there, and the other thing is you're having to mix parts, right, because you can't get a reliable supplier for things. So when you're building these places, they're just it's a now like 2 years out, these places are just issues like crazy. Um, so yeah, that's why like thankful I have this house, which was very strong and stable, Douglas fir rafters, and I kind of know all the ghosts, the secrets of this house, and there aren't many. I mean, like doesn't leak. There isn't any water come in the basement or anything like that. So, but I'm like this, so I'm glad, but these other places, I'm like, so Bacon wrote, good point. Hiring seems to have just picked up for the heavy carriers. Should have started quite a while ago. All maintenance laborers. Yeah. So, right, like the stuff for Amazon and UPS and when FedEx, their CEO announced that the season was slowing down, like it was going to be a slow holiday season. Announced that like a month or two ago. Like the stock went down 40% a day. I took a screenshot, and he also said like this is crazy. We're getting hammered um, because that UPS also had taken an ancillary hit because they're in the same area, and so like, and some of these stocks are really starting to be vulnerable, like Meta, Amazon, Microsoft. Microsoft down on 25%. Things you would never think would happen for some of these companies. 3M, down. These so kind of these big companies down significantly, and the fact is that no one is backfilling and coming in to like buy the stuff and move these stocks up. So then, the Fed comes out and says, "Oh, like you can put away $27,000 of your earnings into retirement." But the thing that they don't tell you is like most people will never do that because right, who has that going on, right? They could just set aside $27,000 a year, whatever the number is. So, and then they're like, well, everyone's going to be enrolled in a 401k, right? They started that a while ago upon in starting a job. So it's not optional. You'd have to opt out. And the whole thing, will bring in more money. But I'm like, well, but that doesn't seem to be making a difference. And, I think we all know there's a lot of people out of the workforce that's an illusion of saying, oh, like unemployment's 3% or something. Um, so I'm looking at this saying, where's the new money coming in outside all the money that's been printed? But, you have people who are, running up debt. You have people who are retired and trying to live off their savings, and their pensions and or their 401ks or whatever they had, right? And that's not going nearly as far for them, and they're having to withdraw. So, like, how's this money being replenished into these systems? Because these 401ks, these mutual funds, right, they primarily buy the stocks. So, I mean, if we didn't have a 401k, like the stock market would probably be, 25% of what it is today, right? It's because all of those funds buy. So I'm looking at that saying, this doesn't make sense, right? And as the population ages, the older people be taking money out, fewer younger people in the workforce, there's fewer younger people in general. Kind of Elon Musk said, we're going to hit a point where we're going to have younger, this society is going to get older. We're going to kind of, like what Japan and China, you're just going to kind of fall off this cliff, this aging cliff, and these populations are going to decline. It's Billy. Good evening, Billy. So Andrew's saying, I've seen more people driving on spare tires. I don't know if it's coincidence or not. That's interesting. So that I would say that would be, you know, so right. Spare tires, when's the last time you changed your oil? Um, for a lot of people, right? Um, so those were the questions that were in this. I don't know if it's AAA or it was a documentary. I don't know but even like my tax, not my tax, my or get my car service. They're saying, yeah, people are just putting stuff off. And the one thing they said is oil changes, which is a really kind of bad move, right? To run your oil to 12,000 miles. But so, um, yeah, Bacon's right. Like that whole thing where the government puts it out there, there's this reality of that really doesn't change the game, only for a few people. And those people aren't hurting anyway. So, 401k is tax deferred. Yeah, tax exempt. You're right. So it's tax deferred. If you do a Roth, if your income falls in that, a Roth IRA, um, then that is, you never pay taxes on the growth on that. And you're putting in post tax dollars. You can do that too. That's a lower limit, 6,500 if you're below age 50, 7,500 if you're above. And as a couple, I don't know, your income has to be under 150,000 or something. Um, but yeah, so 401k is tax deferred. So right at some time when you take it out, you'll be paying then taxes on it. And if you're age eligible, 59 and a half or older, then you're paying your regular state and federal taxes. And if you take it out ahead of time, there's additional penalties that get on there. So so yeah, it is crazy stuff. So yeah, the 401k, trying to get people, well, you'll be in a lower tax bracket. Well, actually, the tax brackets changed right under Trump. So for a lot of people with a big deduction, if your 401k is matched, that's one thing. But I don't know. I mean, who has extra money unless you have a threshold of a certain, you have things paid off and you have a threshold of what, $75,000 salary or something like that. You're probably not doing this, or you're doing the absolute minimum, which isn't really going to be something you can live off of down the road anyway. But I just think it's weird when they talk about these things because I'm like, you're crazy, right? And even if you had this, I mean, your 401k would just have taken a massive hit this year, and you can say, oh yeah, over time, or your cost averaging in at a lower thing, but still, like, you could be down for years, right? Or if you're just retired, it's just crazy. Billy is wealthy though. It's good, buddy. It's good. You can do a super chat, Billy, right down there. Press the dollar sign. Share a little of that wealth. So Bacon knows how it works, but Billy's thinking about it. So Andrew S, notice that 2-man gotta be rough. So yeah, ultra wealthy that is, rich parents. So well, good Billy. So, um, I dated a girl in high school. Her parents, so they had a private jet. They had a bowling alley in this house. They built this huge house out in the country. It had a bowling alley in it, and they had a indoor basketball court. They didn't have a pool, but they had an indoor basketball court, big indoor basketball court, bowling alley, and then the garage, which was separate, and then they had all the luxury vehicles in it, had this Italian tile floor in it. I just remember this place was just insane crazy. Um, so, um, yeah, I think, she moved to who I was dating back in high school. I think she moved to, like, Buffalo, New York or something. She's and, so never seen her since, but that back then, that was just a crazy thing. And so it'd be winter, northern Wisconsin, right? And she'd be like, "Do you wanna, like, go out and just, like, shoot some hoops or something?" And her brother in this. And so you'd go, and this was attached to the house, this gym, and, they'd have to turn the heat on, right? So you'd have to heat this whole gym, and it would take like 10 minutes or whatever. And then you get a big, I remember these Reznor, Reznor. Remember these heaters? And then it would be hot, and then it would, be where you could be out there, and I'd be like, that probably just cost. And you're like, you're on propane out here, right? So that probably just cost you what, like $100 or $200 back then to just heat this up so we could play out here for 45 minutes. Like, it was just crazy. So Mike is saying that's why it's called old money for sure. I saw too today that the U.S. government and there's a cluster of governments that are going to do a 12-week pilot of a digital currency. I don't know if any of you saw that. Joe Dolio had retweeted that out, but I saw the article. Um, and I think more and more, like, behind the scenes, right? Well, we know the social credit score stuff, right? That's one thing. But I also think there's this thing of expiring money. And so, and what it would be is, so let's say it's Social Security. Let's say that the government says, okay, so for Social Security, once it'll be issued to you digitally, and you have, you know 3 years to spend that. And and if you don't spend it, it expires. It's gone, it's 0. So you have to do that, or maybe it's less than that, right? And but then there would be some incentive they would give you of saying, if you take this option, right, we will give you 5% more or 10% more. So they're just putting it off, and all numbered machine, right? And it goes into the economy. But what would happen, right, is quickly this generational wealth, unless you had it in land, right, or a company or something like that, you would, that you'd probably be able to pass on. But if it was just, going on probate, someone dies and there's inheritance, a lot of that would all get sucked up into this kind of digital system. Like, maybe there would be some rule, right? Because I mean, you got to look like the people in charge, like, who's in charge, and would they pass this? So you could have in the military, could be like, if you're getting your money in the military, it's going to be all digital. Um, but what if everything that was inherited had to be? So if you inherit a 401k, um, you have 10 years. There's other ways, but you have basically 10 years to take that money out, and then it's taxable, right? Um, but what if everything, through like a new law that hit probate, everything that was inherited had to be spent basically within 10 years or something. So you so what does it look like? So how are people spending on things? Or, I mean, so basically the thought is like the government just is getting more of this money, right, to keep them going for longer, because once you got to the next generation, there's not going to be nearly the amount that would be passed down to them. So it would get you over the hump as a government for 20 years. 20 years down the road, and then you'd be in the situation where you'd have these people that would just be fully dependent on universal basic income but uh but there's a switch you can turn, right? This is something you can do. I own Arby's. I never eat there. Billy Bacon loves Arby's, and I we have an Arby's here, and I I like Arby's, so maybe like once a month. So they used to do the barbecue. That's not on the menu anymore, but I love that. When I was in college, I did 5 roast beef for $5. So don't do that anymore either. But I am glad we have a Arby's in town. That was a big win. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. The Arby's came back. When we were here, we did have an Arby's, and then it left. We also had Wendy's, and that is now a U.S. Cellular. Um, so what Billy's saying is he eats at Arby's he wants to, not because he has to. So Arby's for the win, though, man. The Arby's sauce, it's good stuff. Mike, that's why it's called Old Money. Yeah, okay. Sorry, Mike. Just read that again. Billy, I'm assuming, and it's everything is like fine. There's no lag here. I'm just, I'm just reading the stuff. Billy, I'm assuming you had something to do with this. Let's see what is that? Oh, did I just waste $60 on Arby's bourbon? Oh my god, that is hilarious. Um, Premieres in 10 hours. God, that is. Wait a second. The average drinker. There used to be this show called Functioning Drunks or Functioning Alcoholics. It was a podcast when I started my podcast. And I think it was on the 405 Media or something like that, where I was had a syndicated podcast, the show. And I don't want to make that out to be bigger than it was, um, but these dudes, the show is hilarious. I don't think it's out there anymore. And they had this logo that was absolutely funny. Um, but yeah, actually, wow. Billy, I've never taken old and turned it into new. Never had the chance. If it wasn't for old, yeah, it's stacked. So, um, right. I think this would be an interesting show to have. What the hell? Oh, there's some notice that came up here. There's a soccer match coming up in 4 days. Great. I don't watch that. Why tell me? It's 29 degrees out now. It just changed. Um, if what how would you generate wealth if you didn't have any today, right? Like, so, you're yeah, what do you do? And that's where Chad Elkins, I think, really hits the nail on the head with, like, you can get into these programs, these um kind of what agent programs with what is it? The tax um, yeah, IRS agent, but some different type of like federal tax agent investigation type stuff. Um, you can get into those and bookkeeping and not have a lot of debt to and then build your way up and to become more independent. Can go into the trades, right? Um, so what do you do though? Um, and then as I said too, I was talking to my wife and we were having this conversation. I said, generational wealth is really hard to maintain over multi generations unless you have a whole bunch of it because I had friends who, like their parents went into nursing homes, right? And um the entire basically families everything they had saved up was gone if they were in a nursing home for a couple of years. And then the one spouse, like, they'd be able to keep the house, but then after they passed away, the house went to the nursing home to pay off, debts. I mean, some of that stuff is $7,000, $8,000 a month or more. Um, so, to think you're going to be passing this generational wealth down, or somebody gets sick, or somebody gets sued, or just somebody's bad with money, you pass it down, and someone is a drug addict because they have the access to the money, or they are a gambling addict, right? It's just shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves, right? Like Stefan Molyneux would say, the thought that you're gonna successfully pass this stuff down 3 generations is really, really slim, unless you're like the Rockefellers, right? It's just really slim. So, and as people live longer, um, I don't know. So it's just a weird thing because I try to think about that. Well, we have this conversation, like my wife and I'll have this with our kids, like I was saying, like this kitchen, like this was made by, um, Levi, the Amish guy, made this and it's all by hand. And, we've had this. And so don't get rid of this because the odds of you trying to find anything like this are really slim. Right. And these are some heirloom pieces like that we had, um, that specifically made. So like take care of these. And, you can kind of see like, well, they're young. They don't have much interest in a place right now, but trying to tag these things early and just say, some of these things like, because down the road, you're not going to be able to access these things. So I got to jet out. Thanks, Safety Doc, and everyone else. Well, Mike, thanks for your support of the show. Monday night, we have our Mike Dahl on, head of Wisconsin Esports. So, Mike, yeah, thanks. Mike's been one of our super chat helping out there. Bacon also. So appreciate that. Get a little momentum as that show was going, and so that was fun. Like I see the ad revenue because the show, so it's a little bit every day. Like people are watching stuff. So it's a little bit, but it is kind of fun. I mean, just to see that. This is why you don't get the mansion with a full size slip and slide water park. Should you hit a big return on the idiot tax? Yeah, Bacon, you're right on. You're right on with that. That's a really good point. So, Mike, again, thanks for being here, buddy. As always. So I have the slip now. Billy. So that is some good stuff. Yeah. So but so yeah, I have office hours tomorrow, so I make sure like when I go to bed, no one is like signed up for 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, because that happens once in a while. And I just tell my students, I'm like, I'm not going to check this between 8 at night and like the morning. So, and I try then to go in and block that stuff off. So if you haven't signed up by 8 o'clock tonight, like tomorrow's off. Because, I need some time and then I got to go grab my coffee if we're going to have, do that. It kind of changes my morning up. I got to be able to bring your stuff. Looking at 52, I'm 51. Billy, 51 right here. 42 foot slips. Oh, God. So you're talking about look at that. I had a professor, Billy. So when I attended UW Superior for that top masters over there, one of my professors was the retired business manager for the Rockford, Illinois School District. And this dude had like a small yacht. It wasn't a houseboat, and it wasn't like a huge yacht, but it was like probably, so let's say the year's 2000. This is probably about a $250,000 yacht that he had. And then there's the slips down there in Superior and then over in Duluth. And so pretty nice. And he invited the students down one time. And so like at the end of a class, we went down there and then he took us around the harbor and stuff like that. So, but I would say $250,000 boat. And what he did is he lived there. So that he would walk up to the university and then he would just walk down. And then on the weekend, he would take it and go over. And he had a cabin or something up in Ashland, Wisconsin. So he would have to take his boat for about 3 hours to get up to his cabin. And then he would be there for 2 days and he would go. But it was really cool though. This dude who had retired as this high profile kind of administrator. So was probably raking in a really big pension back then. And the dude would come up and he was a good guy. He would come up in, like a Cabana shirt and sandals And it was chill for him. I mean, because he's retired, so no one's breathing down his neck on tenure or anything like that. This is and the university's glad to have him because who else is going to be teaching this stuff? And this dude, I forget what his name was. I have to go back and look at the transcripts, but he was just chill. He was good guy. And then I remember one of his big rants was he's like, all these teachers that bring in these couches, what they do is they have a couch in their house that they don't want to get rid of, or they don't want to pay to get rid of, right? So they get it, somebody to bring it to school. I'm about. Hi, I'm about. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll subscribe back. I'm about. Hi. Um, so this guy, right? He'd go on these rants. He's like, "Do not let teachers bring these couches into your schools. They're fire hazards. They're like all bent up and they're bad, and they're just like smelly, and they take up a lot of room in classrooms, and it's just a mess, right?" Because and he said that was so prevalent in Rockford or whatever. And I would just have to, the principals would say, "Well, thanks for subbing, buddy. I'll definitely hit you back." Principals, would I have to drop the hammer and say, "I'm coming through your buildings, and if there's couches in those classrooms." But yeah, so that was like the way, right? You could be like, "Oh, like I'll bring in a couch. It'll be like a reading area, or it'd be like a," and they were just like, "How do I get rid of this couch? Bring it to school." So he said, then we'd end up trying to dispose these. I just remember this rant he went on. He was just like fired up about this stuff. He's like, whatever you do, like walk through your buildings and make it clear, like you're not the home for all this like broken furniture from their house. Like here's the reading chair. It's some big lazy boy that's all stained and just junky. That so let me check something. All is well. I love these headphones, by the way. These Audio Technicas and this mic. I mean, this has been a good thing here. So, Bacon, thanks for bringing. You've done a lot for my channel, Bacon. I appreciate that in you know helping introduce it to other people. So, and you're a big fan of like trying to get Doc to 1,000 subscribers and to be monetized and stuff like that. So, I appreciate that. And I was like excited when your channel hit 1,000 and you're up at almost 1.4K right now, and you've stuck with your Friday shows, and so yeah, so I'm happy for you. Um, 32 Albie for sale, no pun intended. So oh, you're on Cindy's, okay. In a man-made hurricane. Look at you guys here. It's a gosh darn man-made hurricane. Um, I was out now because we had snow and it sticks. I can't go out on the track because that sucks. And I don't go there to run, to be honest. I just walk. So high school track 2 blocks from my house. Um, but what I would do, let me see here. Um, oh, I would come up with book ideas when I was doing that. And so all right. Well, to come back to this, I would when I would walk, I'd be like, okay, if I'm doing another book, which would probably be like School Safety in America, Rhetoric versus Reality, and I talk like here's why school laws for safety are all messed up, and then I would come up with these ideas for chapters, but then I never would write them. I never would like pull out my phone and do the voice app to say like do a chapter on this. So then like it all comes together when I'm walking, and then next morning I'd be like, what was that chapter about? I was gonna do 2 case studies. Like here's one, but then what was the other one? So I'm like, damn it. I should have just taken the time to bring up the phone and just hit that and said, or I had like a really cool title for like a chapter, and I'd be like, oh, I'll remember this. Nope. Um, so but it is pretty clear to me though. So I was like, when I was walking the other night, I was like, well, if I do another book, this will be the third book. Um, and I'm like, oh, when you just think about that, like like writing a book, nonfiction book, philosophy of information, 471 endnotes. I mean, this is a monster, probably 4,000 hours. Not exaggerating. I put into that book research and I'm just like, oh God, um, to start down that journey of another book is just kind of intimidating. Yeah, not that I haven't been there before, but it's just like it's a lot. Um, but I'm like, I don't know. I can kind of think it out in my head of what it would be like, but it pretty much has to be in that area that's real punchy, kind of school safety, society, overreach, government overreach type thing. And oh, cooking a big curry tonight. That's awesome. I'm about. Um, and then I'm like, okay, at what point do I contact PBS? Because I was on PBS twice, 2013 and 2019. So like 2024, 2025, do I contact and say, let's talk about it. One more school safety show for the nation. So the trilogy, right? The trilogy, which we talked about immediately after I did the second one, because both were very successful as far as like being well received by their affiliates. They were different. I was, a, entertaining on a sensitive topic, right? So, and after Uvalde, like my 2019 presentation was shown, very frequently, especially in Texas. So I'm like, yeah, um, it's like, do you have it? Do you have it in you to come back and to do the one last time? Because I would never do like a fourth show. I don't think I would ever write a fourth book. And the book is easier at some level in the PBS presentation because the PBS they have to agree to it, right? And you know, there's so the book though. Once you sign a book contract with a publisher, it says right, you got 12 months or you got 14 months, and it's got to be done. And then you have this whole breach of contract issue going on, or if you got to extend things, and so I'm like, I don't know, or I'm like, do I just not do any of it? But I kind of feel like there's one more book left to write, and I think the PBS trilogy would be fun. Um, so yeah, I think I could walk it off, to have that kind of walk off performance. Um, then I just wouldn't want to do that again. So um, yeah, I don't know. So curry, tell me about that. I love curry. Oh, that sounds great, man. That sounds awesome. So, made from scratch. Ooh, God, that sounds good. Sounds good. So, um, so yeah, I think my objective is maybe in January, February to sit down and to start outlining the book. I outlined it once. I have to figure out where that is. I know that's not lost because that's on a local drive. Um, and and I need to sit down because I really thoroughly outline all my work before I kind of get into it. And then I need to sit and then I really need to just be like, what am I going to do? How do I want to do this? Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it would be as hard as the velocity of information. I mean, I had to step outside of my expertise area, and I think I did a great job with it, but I'm not the 471 endnotes. I wouldn't go there with the third book. Um, so yeah, um, we'll see. We'll see. I wrote a book too, like that, Man on a Mission. We talk about like losing stuff off of drives, and I wrote that book when I was in college. No, did I write in college? Well, I wrote Man on a Mission when I was in college. Yeah, on my Apple IIe or 2C or whatever it was. And the only version I have, because that was a floppy disk thing, is I had a print version, and I took the book, the manuscript, it wasn't a book, and I scanned it about 2 years ago, and then I got rid of the paper, um, so because I scanned it all as a PDF. I mean, it would have to be all retyped. I'd have to send it to somebody and just basically say, a transcriptionist or someone, to just say, "Type this up." Um, I don't think that OCR stuff would probably work that well because, like, but um, just because the way the text was broken up and things. But um, yeah, so the thing with Man on a Mission, if I would have had a publisher when I was in college, like if I would have pursued that, or like self-publishing, but there wasn't self-publishing really back in 1994, right? That would have been a good book. Like that was a lot of fun. And it was based around a character, Keith Reno. So the whole story was these three college guys live in this town of like 50,000 people, and or they're high school seniors, and they decide to go to college in their hometown. It's where they live here. But they decide they're going to move out of the house. They're not going to. They want to be on their own. So they end up renting from a mob boss, and which is kind of like what happened to me and my friends when we went to college. But so they get this really sweet deal on this place, but there's all these kind of weird things going on. But it's okay; they're not in trouble. But so then you got this whole weird thing of like, and then there were these ancillary, these second characters in the book, and there was this dude who would commute to the university, and this was based off of somebody we knew who drove from Rockford, Illinois to Stevens Point every day for class and home again, which is in Wisconsin, which was like a 3 hours drive one way. And this person had a Ford Taurus. So I don't know how many miles you're pounding on that a week, what, 1,000 miles a week on the car more. So this person, and it was bad weather too. So one of the things they would always say is like, if I don't get there for class, can you record it? And so then in the book, this person, and you start to learn more of their story. So they're basically afraid to leave home. So you have this contrast, right? You have Keith Reno and these other two main characters who are in their hometown and can't wait to get out of the house and move into this apartment, right? Even though they're in their own town. This is back in 1994. I wrote this, and then you've got this dude who is afraid to leave, so he's just continuing to commute. So finally, at the end, then he lives. He makes a commitment to live there, and then there's all these kind of intermingled crazy things going. Oh, there's this chick, this non-traditional kind of hippie lady, like who's in their 40s or something, and there's a professor who comes over from like Indonesia in the book, and and then anyway, this lady was awesome. So we had this non-traditional student, Karen, and she was in her 40s, and she had been on campus for so long, she had copies of all of the tests. So and so basically, like, if professor gave a test and gave it back out, so it wasn't like a legally there's nothing like that going on, but she had just like collected these things. So she would help people study. Karen, yeah, the Karen, she was a 40-year-old hippie. She was um she was a blast. And it was weird because I never, when I was in college, like, it was so weird to have people around who weren't college, like 18, 19, 20, like this 40-year-old who had worked at a hospital in some capacity, and receptionist or whatever. And she's a good, fun person, but like, um, it's Jim. So, but she had all of these tests. So when you'd study, she'd be like, "Oh, you've got like this anthropology class, like study these three tests because it's likely it's going to be one of these." So anyway, in the book, there's this professor that comes in from like Indonesia or something, and then she like uses her vast network of these non-traditional students to figure out the test that he was giving back in Indonesia. This is before the internet days, right? So this packet shows up, And she's like, I've got every test he gave back at this like community college at this like small town in Jakarta or something like that, where he was doing some teaching. But it was a fun story. This whole thing was really cool, and people would read it and be like, "This is really good." Um, and then it, um, I never did anything with it, right? And now, like socially, you couldn't do anything with it. Like what? How I built my career, like I'd be NPD platform for doing something like that. That type of story. I mean, it didn't have anything in it that was really over the line, or but I mean, it's a college thing written by a college guy. So, Doc, was it a 3 terabyte Seagate or it was a Western Digital 3 terabyte? Um, and I think I probably bought it in 2018. So yeah. So um, so the deal is I have 2 hard drives I ordered yesterday. They're supposed to be here today. They're not external. And when they arrive, I will start backing up everything that I have. I have backups of everything, and I have double. I have everything on my computer or in the cloud, and then also on a drive. So everything is in 2 places right now. But I'm going to take everything, and I got 2 5 terabyte drives coming, so I'll be able to get everything on a 5 terabyte drive that I have. Especially now, because the Safety Doc podcast, right? Like the raw stuff was 2 terabytes. Well, that's gone. Um, and then I'm going to back up that 5 terabyte, and then I'll separate those 2 drives. Um, so I'll be pretty solid and pretty redundant. I mean, I guess the more I think about it, I mean, the likelihood of ever coming back and trying to do anything with that raw data was pretty rare. Like I said, I lost songs that I had the rights to use that I can't download again, which kind of sucks, but um, from a service that I subscribe to. But you know, the real catastrophic thing would have been if I would have lost family photos, and I have massive redundancy in systems for that. To but I think that that's the thing. Like if you're out there, right, and you've been taking photos of things and they're just on your phone, um, man, do something. Upload that somewhere to a Dropbox or yeah, get it over onto a you know external drive and then back up that. I mean, because things like that, I think, are the most important things out there. That would be like if I had lost photos of when my kids were younger and like we couldn't get them back, like like our trip to Disney, for example, like that'd be pretty devastating. Like there are really some um just like amazing moment in time photos. Um, you know, and they were young, when we were at Disney, what they were um 12 and 8, so it was exciting and you can see that in their faces. But yeah, that type of stuff would really make me sad. So I probably got out if there was one drive to lose, that was the drive, hands down. Um, so Jim, what is happening is the tech guy who owns a shop in town is is looking. He found a couple of the motherboards that sit on top of the hard drive, and he's trying to find one that's cheap. So, and if he can match the numbers and the motherboard, or if he can find another one of these drives and just like swap that off of it, um, he's going to give me a call and say, "Hey, I can do it. This one's $70. Do you want to roll a dice on it and what it'll cost me?" And he's not going to charge me a lot on that. He's done a lot of work for me, and he said it's not a big thing to kind of do that. Is we would know right away if it would work or not. But he said, if the platter's okay, right, and the this part failed, um, then we should be fine. We should be able to juice it up one time and get everything off of it. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess it's worth it for me then to give it a try. And I understand if it doesn't work, but these recovery places are like $1,000 though, like just starting for kind of anything. So I'm like, I'm not paying that. But again, there are people who if you lose work data or whatever, like you'd be gone. You'd probably pay it. Get enlargements, take new photos. So yeah, I'm saying like if I only had a gym on, let's say it was only on digital, right? And I never had the print copies or anything, and I would have lost that. Then you'd be like, whoa. So, but thankfully that's not where I'm going down. But the safety doc stuff is kind of sad. Um, and I've rarely went back to that drive, but there would be times I'd go back. The thing is, like, I have to sit down and actually need to do a show that's 1 hour long that I record on my own and edit it together on a topic. And because I've kind of forgot how to do that, um, do an intro and level out the audio and put the little commercials in it and stuff like that for the books. Because I was doing that all the time when I was syndicated because everything had to be 60 minutes. But then now, like this is not an official safety doc. So this one doesn't have a blog post, but yesterday did. But I'm like, yeah. So yeah, Jim, that's his thing is he is so in the dude Ryan, so he's in his 30s, good guy, really, and he grew up here and graduated high school from here. So he started this business 7, 8 years ago, and it's really good. So he does like phone repair, computer repair, all that stuff. And like people come from all over. He's kind of like a Lewis Rossman type guy, kind of like he doesn't have a social media presence like, Lewis or something, but like a really dedicated, smart, dedicated to his craft type of guy who's going to be really honest with you. But as he said, he kind of just wants to try this, right? He said, I think if we can just get a motherboard, we've got a shot here because that seems like the platter was moving and there wasn't any trauma. I'm like, this thing I don't think was shocked, right? Because I had an anti-static bag and I always um I there wasn't any I didn't drop this. It's always stored in an area where so I'm like from that standpoint, I'd be it's not making any noises like it sounds like anything shattered inside. It just seems like it's not like the electronics are fried on it. So we'll see. I think it would be really cool though. And so Billy, I foster dogs and cats from kill shelters. That's awesome, buddy. That's really kind-hearted of you to do. Um, I transport hunting dogs by Cessna. Wow. So, Jim, then they went digital and quality was garbage. It took a long time to catch up to 35 millimeter. Yeah, Jim. Unfortunately, when our oldest daughter, so she's 16. So back in we had digital cameras, right? So you had the Canon PowerShot or whatever, and we didn't have the 35 millimeter. And back 16 years ago, the digital camera stuff wasn't that good. And if the lighting wasn't just perfect, right? So like all of the photos of when she was younger, like we have all of those, they're all digital, but those cameras weren't very good. And so that was about the time we transitioned away from the 35 millimeter camera. So unfortunately, yeah, some of those grainy and stuff like that, and there's less photos of versus like her by her sister, our youngest daughter. A lot of those were taken with our cell phones, and some of those are okay, and some not. But I mean, like right now, like we've for the last 5 years, we just have used our phones. So when we went to Disney in 2017, we only took our phones, and that was fine. And Disney, we also had the package there where they would take the pictures, and that was actually a good deal. So throughout the park, Disney had different employees, that they would if you go up to them and say, "We want our picture taken," they would scan your Magic Band, and then they would take the picture, and it automatically go into your account. And then after that, Postal sent us this a couple CDs where it had all our photos, then it had some other like just Disney stock photos. But those are really good, and those are like people that had these high-end professional cameras. So you didn't have to worry that much in in Disney, like if you're capturing stuff with your cell phone or not, because you're going to get a number of if you paid for this package, right? You could just get a number of these photos, and they already had the backdrop kind of set up. Here we're going to do this at the Disney Main Street, and over here by the mailbox or whatever, or so we can see the so that stuff was all really good. But yeah, and I tw 20 2005, 2006, when I worked at, the Fort Winnebago, and I was using my digital camera to help them make postcards and stuff, that sucked. I mean, it took so many photos and just such good attempts at lighting to try to pull out one photo that was decent, right? Those things were so bad depending upon the lighting. I mean, if you were outside and a sunny day, you probably had a pretty good shot, but versus now, like I said, the phones do everything we need them to do. I'm not really into like any high-end photography, and imagine, but you're right, like Jim, there was this span, and unfortunately, we kind of got caught up into that. So, but it's weird too, because if I go back, like for when I was a kid, my parents have one photo album. It's at their house. It's upstairs. It's in the bathroom closet. So I don't know why that's the place, but there is one photo album when I was a kid. So it has basically when I was born to like when I graduated high school. It's one photo album. And just right. So the whole thing is maybe 60 photos, you know, maybe, and that's it for 18 years. And there's no negatives, right? It's just like here's your, and then all these other photos like you get, yeah, and it's like here's your great grandfather, your great uncle. Or I'm like, I don't know any of these people. Like I don't know who are these people, how they relate to me, and you know, I don't know these people. I don't really. Oh yeah, you remember like back when you were like 6, 7, they used to stop by. I don't know who these people are. So, um, but yeah. So Jim, well, I'm talking about 3 to 500 for a camera. Not something high end, but not something you'd hand to a 5-year-old either. Yeah, right. I mean, I'm sure you can get a really good camera today. I mean, if that was something like I was into of photography, I mean, but yeah, for me, it's always been really kind of just a functional thing. Um, Billy says I was a plumber today. My sink drain used a snake. Nasty. Wow. Yeah. I have, with my daughters, they have long hair. So in the bathtub, when we had the bathroom redone 5 years ago, um, I had them so I could disassemble the trap from downstairs, because we're in a ranch, right, in the basement. I'm like, because there's that gets plugged with hair. So yeah, every 2 months, I'm disassembling the trap underneath, and oh god, that sucks. But thankfully, we had the foresight to think about that when all that work was being done. Um, so I'm a chef and fridge clear tonight. The freezer on fridge number 2. Oh, it's not good, buddy. Not sorry about that, Jim. Commercial fridge or at home. I'm also a chef. Uke. Wow. So yeah, we bought new appliances as a set, GE back in 2012, I want to say 2011. So fridge, microwave, range, dishwasher. We had the range, a burner went out, and that says a glass top that was serviced. There's a dude here who does that. It was really awesome for us. And then the microwave had to be serviced also because it wouldn't shut off. But so we kept the set together. Thankfully, the fridge and ice box is working. Because those tell you like that's so hard to fix. A lot of these places will be if they do service, they won't even touch those. And then we bought a freezer for downstairs, not a big one, but just a chest freezer 20 years ago when we moved here, and that's just does what it needs to do. Um, so Jim, going to talk my pops into tools and materials to repair it. Sounds good. Um, yeah, no, that's That's a good deal. It also has the ice maker. Ooh, yeah. You know, so, like, for me, outside, it's 29 degrees right now, and so there are certain things, like, if I just want something, like a Mountain Dew that's cold or something, I'll just put it out in the on the porch, right? And then it's cold. So there is kind of that, but, yeah, that sucks, man. Um, sorry to hear that. So yeah, so this is an angle, this is a new angle for the show. It's the 90-degree field of view, and, looking back, I've got the diplomas are all up, the doctoral diploma. Now I kinda feel bad that I contacted the company and asked, I told them that there's that flaw, which there is, that's authentic, a little divot out of the, you can't see it, but it's up toward the W at the top there. To next to it, that line that goes through is red. There's about a 2 millimeter, um, just a like a little punch would take a rectangle out of, and it's like really clean. So I'm like, it's like the end of a screwdriver would go through it, but that's the side that was facing the glass. So I knew I didn't do it. I immediately saw it, so because there'd be no way, and it didn't come through the back. So I immediately called the company and I said, "Hey, like this one part of it, there's a divot out of it." So I said, "Can I send you a picture?" And they're like, "Yep." And then they said, "Okay." And I said, "I don't need a whole new frame. If you can just send this piece out, this mat, we're good." And they said, "Yeah, we can do that." So for them, that's not a big thing, like, because the rest of it is here. But I was like, if I wouldn't have paid a lot for it, and I probably would never notice it after this. But I'm like, for the money I paid for it, and it should have been caught. This thing had like 8 quality control stickers on it, like inspected by number 11, inspected. I'm like, how in the world did this pass? How did somebody not see this? Is you immediately look at you're going to see this, like it's not. In its fact, it's toward the top. I mean, it's not. It's you'd be like, oh, that shouldn't be there. So that's just someone doing their putting their sticker down. That's their job, right? Their job isn't to really look at things, but yeah, so but it's a well-made frame. It looks really nice, and that's the 8 by 10 diploma. All my other degrees were before 2002 when I went to the 8 by 10. They had the 8 by 6 by 8, so it looks nice. I've got the academic side and then kind of the more whimsical side. Um, but being down here, like the studio, the upgrades in the last 18 months have really just changed this to just a whole different vibe, a positive vibe. I really like it. And with this, and actually, like I said, one of my friends, and and we were talking down here, and he was like, "Dude, like you should have a better office." I'm like, "It's just a home office, But still, he's like, "Dude, you should have this should be better. Like you should make this a goal to improve this area because it did have the stinky, stained, old carpet, and um, the lighting wasn't very good, and it had all the sports ball stuff up on the wall, and so, and I was like, that kind of stuck with me because I didn't really see it that way, and then I was like, oh, so then I started, and it maybe started when I got the 3 big monitors in front of me and stuff like that, just to really start kind of saying, I want, because I think if you have a professional environment, it also kind of flows over to you, right? Like if you wear, if you dress up somewhere, you're taken more serious. Like if you're presenting, like if you had to present before a judge or something like that on a traffic ticket, right? You dress up. So anyway, so Yuka saying he drilled stuff into my head. My God, Trinity, gumbos, all sorts of stuff. I love kitchen life, but it's definitely not easy. Man, wow. Uke. Got 2 freezers, huge walk-in, 2 storerooms. Never went to culinary school, but my old head chef went to French Academy and got his wings New Orleans. We did part. Oh my God, man, this sounds so great. Holy smokes, you guys. I mean, it just sounds amazing what you're talking about. I'm not great in a kitchen, and I regret that. I was much better as a kid, like creating dishes and making things, and then I just got away from it. Um, so I am what you guys are talking about. I'm just like, oh yeah. There would be one thing if I could go back to my, you know, younger self, like 15 or 16, I'd be one of the things I'd be like, learn to cook, like take some classes, try some recipes, and get like a core of like 8 dishes like that you can make with confidence, right? Um, Something like that. You could saying it definitely is its own thing, but they bring Cajun and Creole stuff to the same table. Wow. Oh my God. So it started in France on the Rhone. Say it if you want. Cooking is fun, Doc. Jim, it sounds fun. And I also, my neighbors are grilling in summer. We don't really grill. But now I've got like this new, the new concrete, right? So I pushed out the front. Boy, that would be perfect for a grill. A lot of space out there to do that. That would be the awesome spot to have a grill. Um, and I'm like, oh man. So yeah, I need to get back and and to do that. So yeah, um, very cool, very cool. So, a couple housekeeping things, guys. Here's the deal. My first book, School of Bears. Jeez, microphone almost like slapped me across the face here. Hey, it's School of Bears. Rethinking School Safety America in America. But in addition to that, right, it's a great book for parents, teachers, but it's also this fascinating kind of a 3 chapter section on the harbor rescue on 9/11. I worked with the New York City Department of Planning, so getting information, it's all in the book. How did 500,000 people get rescued in 9 hours for something that was never planned? And by people who were tugboat captains and leisure craft captains, how did they do that? And how it actually kind of goes back to like Rocky 4, strangely enough. Um, but this is an awesome book. It's got 54 reviews. It's out there in audiobook too. I narrated this one so you can find it. It's like 10.99 in audio. And yeah, this is you'll enjoy this book. This is a smart book, right? So you'll enjoy this. Um, but yeah, once you've read it, and it's a lot of libraries, but once you've read it or you listen to the audiobook, go on Amazon and post review. It's got 54 reviews and it's been hanging out at 54 forever and 54 forever. Boy, it'd be nice to be being the 55th review of saying this book was awesome. Here's what I liked about it. Go out and get it. So right there. The next book is was released in April, The Velocity of Information. This was um, you know, largely about the year 2020, but not exclusively. So yeah, this is amazing book. What happens to people 90 days in the chaos? What do you start to see in people around you? What might you experience in your own life? How do you build a member check network to get information and to kind of not go crazy, right? So that book is really popular across the world, which is I've been surprised at the countries where I'll be like, oh, like it's in the libraries in China. China has like libraries have the book. I'm like, that's weird because School of Airs didn't show up anywhere in China, and Velocity of Information doesn't seem like the kind of book that would be showing up in China, but it does. Um, so yeah, I think if you can, do a favor, go in. So it's at safetyphd.com. You can get information here about the books. They're all on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and places that sell books, but Safety PhD right there. Um, and Yeah, go in, please. Like some morning, I'm going to wake up and I'll be like, "Oh my god, there's a review for both books," and it's a good review. It's not a person who left a 2 star and no comment. Um, but yeah, um, so yeah. Um, let's see here. Cajun, yeah, safety PhD. So you turn it on, you are getting cooked. Yikes! Yikes! Jim, yikes! So yeah, what's on deck for me tomorrow? I don't know. Between now and next week aren't real active. And then the consulting kicks in the week after that. But then there's Christmas too. But then I'm also teaching in spring, so we got to kind of build those classes out. A lot of students are registered already. So not surprising because, I teach in a licensure program and um, I'm the only one that teaches the non-discrimination legal class. So, um, but I gotta look through and start thinking of what I'm going to do in that class. So, like, because I don't, I mean, there's fundamental things I don't change in the class, but there are some updates and ways that I want to teach that. So yeah, Creo. God, that sounds good. Green peppers. God, guys, it sounds so good. So, Jim, we have to have a meetup wherever you're at. We have to get Billy there. We've got to get Yuke there. I got to be there, and we got to just all eat this Cajun food for like 3 days nonstop. Just party. So that'd be awesome. Um, yeah. Wow. Well, guys, I'm going to get going. So I can't do the outro for Solitude if he's still around, but because I'm doing through YouTube, because one is I wanted to check latency because it was really weird last night, but that was kind of just a last night thing. I think the first part was Lisa's stream wasn't as strong, and so that was so the buffering took a little bit longer there for YouTube to um, generate that and spin it back out. And then when I was doing the follow up on show, I was running into two programs. UCAM 9 and 10 were both trying to access the camera. So UCAM 10 is the program I use when I'm recording university lectures. So like, that I'm posting to a class. It's maybe something like 10 minutes long or 12. So I can quickly go in and throw in some slides and do some other stuff or um and then but that thing was just programmed. It was trying to like get in and hack the camera. Like every time the camera turns on, like it'd be like, you turn on for me. And I'm like, no. And then I looked and I'm like, what the hell? Two versions of this thing are running. Like I don't want any versions of it running. So that's where we ran into and the computer still duked it out pretty well because it's got 64 gig of RAM and it's got a very robust um, graphics card, right? And so, it totally didn't bog down, but my upload speeds, I check 'cause I'm like, are my upload speeds going to hell? Because, you got to be probably at least 4 gigabyte for, just basic upload during a stream. And it's all wired down here. It's not what, so I'm like, no, I was running 12 on an upload, which isn't great, but it should be more than sufficient because I just pay for the basic. So I'm like, well, that's not it. So it was just a weird night. I think I had some conflicting software stuff, but everything's good today. Um, so like I said, I think it was the some of that stuff going on. But yeah, it was a great show with Lisa last night. So guys, thanks also. I know the shows are monetized now, so when you go in and they throw the commercials up at you, I know it's a pain, right? But um, you know, I'm trying to obviously if you get to be monetized, turn the stuff on and it literally is cents a day. It's coming in monetized. But over time, it would be nice for the show to kind of just become self-sufficient. I don't know if that'll ever be the case, but that would be like a goal of the show is to become self-sufficient. So, um, but yeah, German, Polish food is pretty tight too. Traditional French is great. Irish food too. It's fusion. Come on, even English chefs will tell you the best English meal is breakfast. So, Jim, I'm jealous of the Cajun and Creole seafood. Oh yeah. Oh God, that just sounds so good. Gator, Bobby Boucher. So I prefer a Popeye, though. Wow, Uke, guys. It's like a cooking show now. That's what I got to do. Be. I'd have to set up a camera, and then I'd be like, okay, and then I mean that would be kind of an interesting thing of having a chat or some people like just also come on screen that are trying to like teach you how to cook, and but they're hundreds of miles away, right? So, yeah, some of us turn every channel into a secret cooking show. Yeah, and like that would be something people I think would watch. Um, I I actually think if yeah, that'd be cool. You guys can think if I were to do a simple dish. Now, my wife is a great cook, but if I were to do like a simple dish, like to try to learn something to kind of surprise, like what might it be? Um, what would that be? Is it a chicken Alfredo? Is it a I mean, where's like the starting point um to try to tackle something? So we don't I mean, just kind of think about it. We're not gonna go there tonight, but like if you guys were to help me out, like where would you go? So um all right. Bread it and fry it. That's the only way. So okra and butter. Billy, come on. Ha, it's Billy. We gotta keep it, it's a family, still a family show, right? Um, and Billy, you're great. Love having you in here, buddy. So butter how are you gonna butter that? You guys are duking it out here, and Doc's like, uh, yeah. I'm think about it. I would love to try something. Some boil it in Mountain Dew. It's right here. So, oh my god, yeah. When I was in college, man, like, I mean, it just ate bad, but I was in pretty good shape. I was bigger. I mean, played sports like in college. So, but, you can kind of get away with that somewhat because you're young and you're active. But I think the routine would be Wednesday Whoppers because Whoppers were $1, Burger King on Wednesdays, Tuesday Taco Bell, Monday Big Mac at McDonald's, Thursday I don't know. Friday, I don't know. But there were like 3 or 4 designated fast food days because and I'm like, God, it was so bad. Pizza and soda. Oh my God. Um, I'm kind of like, if I would have gone back and like just ate better and how, you know, things might have been athletics and stuff, I probably would have been like so much better than what I was. I remember playing a college basketball game after on a Wednesday night after eating like 2 Whoppers at lunch and a big fries and Coke. And I was like, "Oh, I don't feel great, man." The whole game, I was just like, well, just slowed down by that. Just couldn't ever get out of first gear. And I remember that. Didn't feel sick. I just felt like, you know, I guess after eating a bunch of kind of junk food and then having to burn all of your energy from that stuff. It was just a sludge. It's just crazy. But I remember that game coming into that saying, Man, I don't feel great." So, and I probably didn't play well either, I don't know. I know it wasn't a great game. I probably had 5 points, 7 points, something like that, so nothing big. Sometime we'll talk about that playing and, I played with a guy, Rajiv Maheswaran, who became a billionaire. Yes. With analytics with the NBA as a company's second step. I played in the same team as him. So, and I was better than he was. So, um, actually, I think like he kind of had this chip on his shoulder when he got like his own business and he was out in like California and then he got in with the NBA and became a billionaire. And I tried to connect, I tried to contact him like 5, 6 years ago and he was like, nope. And I don't know, we never really had a falling out, but he wasn't a very good player. And we had a big game and he stepped on the out of bounds line like twice. Um, and I was like, how do you do that? And we had huge turnovers. They called a timeout late in the game that we had the momentum going. I don't know what he was doing. And he called a timeout and we ended up losing the momentum and lost the game like 76-64, 74-60. No, 76-64 was the game. And I was like, what the hell? Like, you know, and but so kind of like a dude that had a passion for basketball and made it into $1 billion passion, literally. And the guy was, he's been on like a lot of TED Talks and there've been like specials about him and the analytics. He's kind of like the Billy Bean Moneyball type thing. Um, but yeah, went to school with that dude and played hoops with him. And but yeah, so okay, okay guy. I mean, just but it kind of weird. I think if I ever became like a billionaire, though, like I don't know, like I don't think I would ever close the door on people that I knew earlier if they had tried to contact me. So it's not like I contacted him and asked him for money. I think I contacted him and said, like, I got a hold of like someone at his company and said, oh, like I went to school with this guy and I saw him like on ESPN special. So, yeah, Yuka's saying, Doc, it looks like he wants to end the podcast, but doesn't know that food has entered the chat. Yeah, that's funny. No, I'm losing my voice. And plus, I'm getting tired. This is good though. Like, I kind of like the direction this has gone. And um, I think it would be amazing. So, like, guys, it would be amazing if I could learn. So, my wife's birthday's in June. Um, it would be amazing to learn a dish that I could practice, right? And make it on her birthday. So let's kind of leave that. Like if you guys can kind of think of something, um, I think it I would love to do that. Um, so something within my realm that I could practice and but guys, that would be awesome. So yeah. Um, Andrew said, one of my best friends in high school on the last day of school dropped off my friend and told him he would never see him again. Kind of weird, but it was true. It is weird. So, geez, microphones. I had so one of my friends, um, who lives in this area. Like we used to hang out now and then, and then I hadn't we hadn't done anything for a couple of years, and then I don't know if I contacted him or he contacted me. He said, "Oh, I just thought you moved." I'm like, "Moved? I didn't move." I just thought I moved. Like we live in the same town. Um, it's kind of a weird thing, but so um, yeah, I have the people I knew in college. Like I haven't seen them in a long time because they're just not here, right? And uh, but that's an interesting thing. What is she like? What's going to wow her? I think honestly, like if I could do something that would be more than just a meal, like a so let's say like a something chicken. So she likes chicken, although my oldest daughter is a vegetarian, so I have to have like some options here, right? Um, and then maybe like a dessert and a side dish, right? So something like that. That's probably the. She's not big into like spicy stuff. So definitely things, potatoes, uh, noodles, rice, pasta, those types of things, and chicken. I mean, she makes a ton of things, but like I said, her oldest daughter is a vegetarian, so it kind of limits some of the things. Um, what I did make a really awesome spicy chicken fajita when I was like at my first job. I brought it in as like a potluck thing, and everyone was like, "Holy smokes!" Um, but but yeah, I wouldn't do that. So that's what Yuka said. You guys can think. So I think something almost like a chicken Alfredo, but maybe there's other things in that genre, right? Where you're like, oh, a chicken pastanera or whatever it is, whatever. Um, and then what would kind of go with it. But it would have to be stuff I would make, not just stuff I would open up, right? From a can and be like, oh, here's little tiny oranges, right? From a um so yeah, I something like that. That would be good. That would be really awesome, and I think I would enjoy learning that process, and she would appreciate that. Like, that would be a really good gift, and I could probably also have my daughters, kinda be in there, um, we could do all of it, but if I was kinda leading it, like, it would be a pretty cool thing because that's not something I do, and I would like to do that. Some vegetarian dishes are good, but I'm not really a fan. So, yeah. So I'd have to be able to kind of flex whatever is making. So, on-site or off-site? I don't know. So I guess on at our house, right? If that's the question there. Um, so orange almond butter chicken, I love it. See right there, Ron Wayne. Look at Ron. You know what this is? I got this. Just ordered this from Kentucky. It's a Kentucky Batman shirt. So they tried to do the bat logo, but they're like copyright it. Got confiscated. But here, like they got in here. This is the I got this. Yeah, ordered it from the Kentucky.gov. They just checked the Kentucky Batman and this arrived. They flew it here, got here today. So right here, Ron Wayne, the Kentucky Batman. So oh man. Ron, good to see you. So the show's been going 3 hours and I'm about to shut it down, but we're at the point in the show and you've been editing all evening. Holy smokes, guy. Well, back up your stuff, man, because you know what happened to me. I lost I lost 181 episodes of the Safety Doc podcast, 5 years worth of work. Kind of. I lost all the raw files. They're all rendered, they're all out there. Final audio. So I'll just have to regather those. But that really sucked. But Ron, yeah. So what we're trying to do is think of a dish I can make for my wife for her birthday in June, and so you guys and kind of like helping me with that. Um, and so yeah, something that's within my skill range, right? But not like so I have to put some time into learning, and then my my one oldest daughter's a vegetarian, so got to be able to flex it. But almond butter olive range, whoa! So, and you guys are really good at this. I'm not good, and I wish I was, but I can be. Like that's a skill I can acquire. So, um, I would really, and I think I would enjoy that. So, Ron, I've been running around your main playlist for days now. Yeah, I've been in there too, and I've been commenting. So, Ron, do you have? So I do you have any a playlist that is longer shows? So, um, because I would spend and focus in on those to help you out. I like all your shows, but if there's any that are longer, um, so great stuff. Yeah, Ron, you got really good. I know Misty helps you out too. Like you're really good video, but your audio is like outstanding. It's so crisp. And I think for with the different firearms, like audio is a hard thing to do on channels like with that. It overwhelms like the too much gain, or there's like it's too distant and it's kind of echo. It just is weird. But yours is like so spot on. It instantly hits. I instantly hear it, like how good it is. And I'm like, whoa, like that. I'm not sure what you're doing. I mean, obviously, like you know what you're doing and stuff like that. But I'm like, you're just so good with your videos. They're technically so good, and but that audio is just where I think it's hard to do that in with percussion of firearms, right? But you've got it. Like you're so good with that. So like I appreciate that. Like I don't know if people tell you that, but God, you do a great job in capturing your audio. Um, so yeah, longer form coming up. Good. Very good. Okay. Titled videos. Okay, I'll do that, Ron. Um, so more Mornay with Baby Gouda. Maybe yeah, and we do have like a number of cheese places, especially cheese places close to us. So that we could definitely incorporate specialty cheeses if I knew what to do and what to mix in, and like a bottle of wine and what goes with whatever. Yes. But guys, this makes sense. We do have, yeah, especially cheese houses within 30 minutes of me. So let's do that. Let's think of that. So you keep that in mind there. Um, that's a really great idea. We're in the right theme here. So Ron's like, I'm saving all three of these messages for myself. Yikes. The chat bots are out tonight. Jim, I've been just experimenting with fridge stuff like a quiche, but not quite. So far, so good. I need to write notes. Yeah. Doc, if you don't know, Mornay is roe plus cheese. Roe is one of the. Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know. Thanks, Yuke. Yeah. So, like, what am I good at? Like, I feel like you guys are so good at this. I have none of this knowledge. Like, but I can tell you what, I can help anybody make their yard green. I used to work as a greenskeeper, like when I was young, and I like just learned all the soil stuff. And like, so I have the best looking yard in my neighborhood by far. And like, I live up the road from Millionaires Row. Um, and like, I just understand it, right? I've got it. And then I always like mold these really cool patterns into the lawn in the front, and people will say that, like, people will walk by and say, it's always just somewhat nice to see like the things that you do, and or they'll be like, our lawn is going whatever, and I'm like, okay, it's got like probably this much Milorganite, and you got a lime over here, and then probably here we got to do a little bit of Epsom salt over here, and got to watch the weather, and because it's going to drag it down. Epsom salt's got to sit on the top for a while, and but I'm like, as some really, it's kind of my skill, and I like to help my neighbors out with that too. Um, but I want to. I'm trying to make myself worthy because you guys are like so good at this. I'm like, I don't know what is Doc good at. So, um, but this is awesome, you guys. Great. Um, we've all got different knowledge bases. The best part of talking with strangers is gaining and sharing each other's knowledge. Was yeah, it is. Yeah, and I'll say like from this show, like from doing the podcast, right? I've got to meet a lot of great people. I mean, look at the sign in the back that Coop made, and sent a thing's amazing, right? And just but just knowledge and just great people. And I'm like, if I get to Kentucky, right? Um, I want to let people know because I want to, yeah, and I want to, like I said, I think I definitely want to do Gettysburg because I want to do Gettysburg, and thankfully I have friends who live like right there, like so they're like, yeah, I can give you the full tour, like we live right here. So, um, then Humboldt, Texas, got a friend down there who um, has kind of a standing invite come down, and 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 then I don't know. I mean, I'd love to meet all you guys, but like a Kentucky, I think would be pretty cool. Like if I had a place to stay, then that would be. I don't really. I have friends in California, but I don't really want to do the California thing. So um, so hummus, yeah, I've had hummus. Hummus is good. So peace out, Ron. See you tomorrow. Yep. So guys, I gotta get out of here. Nobody cares. It's so funny, you guys. That's good. Uh, Saltude's been quiet on the Garbanzo. I don't know. Is that guy still around? So, um, yeah, because I can't do the exit here. He probably knew that because I was streaming. He's like, "Oh, that's my favorite part of the show." I'm guessing. He's a good guy, but he does not have a blue wrench. Um, so, Billy, though, you're not far away from a blue wrench. You come back, and you might have the blue wrench next time. So, we appreciate you here. So I'm glad you've been in here. Guys, microphone. See, the thing is, like this is a different windscreen. So this is actually for the SV7B or S7B, and this is the S7A. The 7A has a thinner screen, so the plosives, the P's, are a little over the top. So this one cuts it down more. It's a thicker screen, but it's longer. So the native, you have to keep because the mic is down here, right? The mic is right there. So you've got this whole area up here where there's no mic, so you got to keep it closer to your face. But then it's you got to kind of get used to it a little bit. I love the mic, like such a big upgrade. But yeah. So take care, Doc and friends. This is Yuko. Always a pleasure hanging out, talking with you guys. See you guys next time. Yeah, appreciate it. And Monday night, guys, we got Mike Dahl on, head of Wisconsin Esports. Guys, kind of like a national figure now. He's going to all these like openings of esports places. He was down in Orlando. He's a great guy. I think I got him like to commit right before his career kind of like took off. To be on the show here, and we're going to have a good one. We're going to absolutely have a good one. I mean, he's got a story he's going to tell, of a quadriplegic high school kid or middle schooler who's like one of the top gamers in the country, through like a um, mouth controller for games. So man, this is um, and it's just Mike's a great guy, and we're going to talk about some schools don't allow esports because of their no tolerance policies for weapons. And so if someone has a cartoon gun or they have a club or something, and you got to hit somebody else or hit an alien or something, whatever it is, Smash Brothers, right? They're like, that's violent. We can't have that. So they just boom, they're gone. So they wipe out this entire sport. It's just weird. So yeah. So I like you, man, but heck, let's get real. Yeah, it's Billy. Take care, everyone. Jim. All right, guys, I don't have any like great way to take us out here, so I'll just be like, dun dun. I'll do the eep from Iponiwa. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. If I'm not back before Monday, again, Mike Dahl Monday, the show's already there. You can hit the notification on as a reminder. So we will see ya. Whoa. Whoa.